Welcome to the first paradox. Let's start with a simple yet mind-bending question. What happens if you could erase all emotional pain from someone's mind, but in doing so, you erase their capacity for empathy forever? The empathy eraser is not just a puzzle, it's a test of how we understand suffering, humanity, and what makes us truly connected to one another. On the surface, it seems merciful. Pain is terrible. Why wouldn't we want to remove it completely from someone's life? If they've been through something horrifying, trauma, loss, heartbreak, abuse, what kind of person would want them to keep carrying that weight? But here's the twist. In this world, you can only remove that pain at a cost. The cost is empathy. The moment their emotional wounds are wiped clean, their ability to feel for others, to understand the pain of others, to connect on a deeply human level, vanishes, not dulled, not weakened, completely erased. So the paradox begins. Can someone still be called human without empathy? Is a life without pain still a life worth living if it means losing the very thing that lets you care for others? Think about it. Empathy doesn't come from logic or instruction. It comes from lived experience, real feelings, real scars. We feel for others because we've hurt too. We know the ache in someone's voice because we've had that same break in our own. If you remove all pain, then what's left to relate to? If someone tells you they're suffering and you've never suffered, never truly, you might nod, say something polite, maybe offer help. But you won't feel anything, no connection, no ache for them. You'll just move on. So ask yourself, if a person never feels for others again, have we really saved them or have we lost them? Here's where the paradox deepens. Let's say you choose to not erase the pain. You let them keep their suffering because it keeps their empathy alive. That feels noble, right? But now, you're knowingly letting someone suffer just so they can remain human. You're deciding that their pain is worth preserving because it has value. But who gave you the right to make that choice? What if the person is screaming inside, begging for peace? Are you cruel for denying them that escape? It's mercy versus meaning, comfort versus connection. You can't have both. And then consider this. If more and more people choose to erase pain and therefore empathy, we could end up with a world full of people who are emotionally pain-free, but who no longer care about one another. A society with no cruelty, but also no compassion, no tears, but no tenderness either. That's not utopia. That's silence. But let's not stop there. Let's go deeper. Imagine a world where you've erased the pain of millions. People walk around smiling, untouched by tragedy. But then something awful happens to someone. Say, they lose a loved one. They cry. They reach out. But no one understands. No one hugs them tightly. No one says, I know how it feels. Instead, everyone offers empty words, robotic concern. Now that person is more alone than ever, not just grieving, but grieving in a world that doesn't feel. In trying to fix the problem of pain, we've created a bigger one: isolation. Flip it again. Let's say you never use the empathy eraser. Everyone keeps their pain. Everyone stays empathetic. But now we live in a world where suffering is everywhere. People are weighed down by their own memories, their own hurt. They care so deeply it crushes them. Is that better? A society of broken hearts that bleed for each other, constantly. Is that what it means to be human? And if yes, isn't that a little tragic? The paradox is relentless. If you erase pain, you lose empathy. If you keep empathy, you must live with pain. And there is no way around it, only through. Here's another angle. What if the person whose pain you're erasing wants to lose their empathy too? They've had enough. They want numbness, peace. They don't want to feel any more for themselves or anyone else. Is it still wrong to grant that? Or is that agency? Are you honoring their choice, or are you helping destroy what's most human in them? Even worse, what if they don't understand what empathy means until it's gone? What if, after the erasure, they don't care about anything anymore, but also don't know what they're missing? They can't miss empathy because it's been deleted. They feel fine, but are they truly okay? Or have you just created a comfortable ghost, alive but hollow? And now, one final layer. What if someone had your empathy erased to protect you? Maybe a parent erases their pain so they can be a strong, happy figure for their child. But in doing so, they lose the emotional bond they once had with them. They smile, they care logically, but the soul of their connection is gone. The child grows up always feeling something is missing. They were spared their parents' sadness, but at what cost? This paradox is cruel because it offers no clean answer. Every choice leaves something broken. You can save the heart or save the mind, but not both. So, what do you choose? Do you cure someone's pain forever and let empathy die with it? Or do you protect their ability to feel for others and leave them aching for the rest of their life? There is no exit, no compromise. Just a haunting question that follows you everywhere. What's more important? Peace or humanity? Welcome to the next paradox. This one is sharp, heavy, and hard to swallow. You're a juror in a trial where the defendant is innocent of the current crime, but guilty of 10 others they've never been caught for. Do you set them free? This is where justice bends in two directions at once. One side says, judge what is in front of you. The other whispers, you know what they've done, and you're stuck between them, knowing both paths are wrong, and somehow also right. The law says you're here to judge only the current case. You took an oath. You listened to the evidence, and if that evidence proves they didn't do it, you must vote not guilty. That's justice. But your mind won't stay quiet, because you know. Somehow, you know. They've done worse. Maybe they hurt people, stole, lied, destroyed lives, crimes that were buried or ignored. Maybe the system failed before, and this is your only chance to make things right. And suddenly, justice starts to feel like a game. Because if you follow the rules, a guilty person walks. But if you break the rules, an innocent person pays for something else entirely. So what is justice now? Let's untangle it. If you set them free, you're technically right. They didn't do this crime. They don't belong in jail for something they didn't do. That's how courts are supposed to work. People are judged on facts, not suspicions. Guilt must be proven, every time. If you let your personal knowledge influence you, then what separates you from a mob with pitchforks? But if you let them walk, you're letting evil go unpunished. You're allowing someone who's caused real harm to live freely because they got lucky. A glitch in the system, a flaw in the process, a technicality. Maybe this trial is your only window to stop them. So the paradox becomes clear. You must punish the innocent to bring justice to the guilty, or protect the guilty to defend the innocent. Either way, something pure dies. Flip it again. Imagine you do the right thing and vote not guilty. You sleep with a clean conscience. You followed the law. But days later, you read the news. That same person, free now, has hurt someone else. Another victim, another crime, a fresh tragedy. Would you feel responsible? Because in truth, your vote didn't just protect them from punishment, it gave them permission to continue. But if you vote guilty, if you send them away for a crime they didn't commit just to balance the scales, now the system isn't about fairness anymore, it's about revenge. You've become the judge of their entire life, not just this one moment. You've taken justice into your own hands. And if you do it once, if anyone does it once, what's to stop it from happening again? One person punished for the wrong reason becomes 2, becomes 10, becomes a broken system where no one is safe. That's how trust disappears. That's how justice dies, quietly, behind closed doors. But now twist it further. What if you don't know what they did? What if it's just a rumor, just a whisper that they've done other things, but there's no proof? Still, something inside you feels it. Does that gut feeling count? Is justice built on facts or on intuition? What if every other juror believes they're innocent and only you know their secret past? If you vote guilty, you stand alone. But if you vote not guilty, you let them go. Your decision tips the scale, and the weight of it crushes you either way. And still, there's more. What if the crimes they committed in the past were even worse than this one? Horrific, terrifying, crimes that would have put them away for life, crimes that changed lives, ended them, ruined families. Do you really look at that person and say, well, they didn't do this one, so, and walk away? Would justice really be served if that person walks? But then ask yourself, what if this happened to someone you loved? What if you were wrongly accused, but someone on the jury believed you did something else and punished you for it? How would that feel? Wouldn't that be its own crime? Because the truth is, every guilty person has one first time, and every innocent person can be ruined by one bad guess. And in this paradox, you are the one deciding who is who. And here's the most painful part. What if, after all this, you're wrong? What if the 10 crimes you think they did, they didn't? What if you punish an innocent person twice over, once for the crime they didn't commit, and once for the crimes they didn't even do? What then? Wouldn't that be the worst outcome of all? This paradox poisons every clear answer, because whichever side you lean toward, something breaks. Truth or justice, law or morality, innocence or accountability? Every answer leaves someone betrayed. Every choice burns something sacred. And the real cruelty is that you have to choose. You have the power to save or punish, but neither feels right. You are asked to protect the law, but the law doesn't see everything. You are asked to defend justice, but justice doesn't always win. You are asked to decide based on facts, but facts aren't the whole story. And now you must decide. Do you let the guilty innocent walk free, or send them away for something they didn't do? There is no exit, only the silent weight of a decision that will never feel clean. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is cruel, enormous, and quiet in its horror. You discover the cure for all diseases, but producing it requires exploiting and harming a population of people who will never benefit from it. Do you proceed? This is the kind of question that doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like a trap. You hold in your hands the power to end all sickness. No more cancer, no more Alzheimer's, no more pain, no more slow deaths, no more waiting for miracles. You could save millions, generations. The suffering of the world could vanish like smoke. But there's a price. The cure can only be made by using a certain group of people, their bodies, their lives, their future. They cannot be cured by it. They will not survive it. They will suffer so that everyone else can be free from suffering. And suddenly, the cure doesn't feel so clean anymore. This is not a science problem. This is not about formulas or machines. This is a soul problem, a question of what it means to be good, when being good means hurting someone else. So now you're standing between two impossible doors. Open the first, and you save the world by sacrificing the innocent. Open the second, and you protect the innocent by allowing the world to keep suffering. Both feel wrong. Both feel right. Let's follow each path and see where they lead. If you go forward, if you use these people to make the cure, you become a savior to billions. Hospitals empty, children live, loved ones stay alive who otherwise wouldn't. Entire families are spared from grief. You become the hand that ended disease, the greatest achievement in human history. But to do that, you become something else too. You become the architect of someone else's misery. You choose who must suffer for the world to heal. Not metaphorically, literally. Real people, with names, faces, families. People who had no say in this. People who will never know a life without pain. Who will be broken for the good of the many. Does saving the world excuse that? Some would say yes. Some would say this is simple math. Sacrifice the few for the many. 10,000 suffer, 10 billion live. It's a price worth paying, and maybe it is, if you're not one of the 10,000. But that's the problem. It's always easy to trade lives when they're not yours. Flip the scenario. What if it was your people, your family, your town? What if the people being harmed looked like you, spoke your language, shared your blood? Would you still call it justice? Or would you call it cruelty wearing a white coat? And then there's the quiet horror. What if the people being used for the cure don't even know? What if they live in a forgotten place, hidden from the world, never told the truth? What kind of progress is that? What kind of cure requires lies to function? And what kind of world grows from a foundation of pain? But now, let's take the other path. Let's say you walk away. You say no. You refuse to let anyone be used, even if it means the cure dies with you. You choose not to play God. You choose not to harm the innocent. And then, people keep dying. Disease keeps spreading. Children keep suffering. Families break apart in hospitals. Time keeps stealing people too soon. And you know, every second, that you could have stopped it, that you could have changed everything. But you didn't. You protected the few and let the many fall. So now, what is morality? Is it the number of lives saved, or the purity of the method? Is it better to be a monster who heals the world, or a good person who lets it rot? This paradox claws at the very idea of ethics. It asks whether morality is about intentions or outcomes. It asks whether kindness can exist in cruelty, whether evil can wear the mask of healing, and whether the future matters more than the present. Because the truth is, both choices are nightmares. You either break the few to heal the many, or you protect the few and watch the many break. And the worst part, you can't escape the choice. You discovered the cure. You know what it could do. You can't unknow it. You can't hand it off to someone else and hope they decide better. You are the decision now. And maybe the hardest question is this: what if the people being harmed offer themselves willingly? What if they say, "Let us suffer so others don't have to"? Does that make it better? Or is it still exploitation, just with nicer words? Can consent erase suffering, or just decorate it? Or what if you lie to yourself and say, "It's not that bad. Maybe the pain is temporary. Maybe the damage is manageable." But deep down, you know the truth. The cure demands something terrible. It cannot be made clean. It will always have blood in it. So now you must ask, does the future have to be built on sacrifice? Does every great leap require someone to fall? What does it say about us, about humanity, if our greatest medical triumph comes from the suffering of those we decided could be used? Would we call it progress, or just another kind of cruelty? This paradox doesn't offer comfort. It offers a mirror. One side shows a healed world built on quiet screams. The other shows a wounded world, untouched by your hands, but filled with pain you chose not to stop. And now you must decide. Do you produce the cure knowing what it costs, or do you protect the innocent knowing what it denies? There is no answer that leaves you whole, only a choice, and the silence that follows it. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is deeply personal and impossible to cleanly escape. You're told your real biological parents were switched at birth and are in danger, but saving them would require abandoning the ones who raised you. Who do you choose? This isn't just about blood or history. This is about identity, memory, and the bonds that shape who we are. You've lived your whole life with the people who raised you. They kissed your forehead when you were sick. They sat in crowds to cheer you on. They cried when you left home, and they stood by you when life fell apart. These are the people who shaped your world, and then suddenly you're told they're not your biological parents. And the ones who are, you've never met them, but they exist. They are real, and now they're in danger. They need you. But to save them, you'd have to leave the ones who've always been there for you. Now you're pulled between two stories, the one written in DNA and the one written in love. Do you follow blood or loyalty? If you rush to save your biological parents, you betray the people who raised you. You walk away from everything you've known, from dinners and birthdays and memories built slowly, one ordinary moment at a time. You say, in action, if not in words, that blood matters more than bond, that the people who raised you are second to the people who created you. But if you stay, if you refuse to act, you let your biological parents suffer or die, knowing they never had a chance to meet you, their real child. You abandon the people whose blood runs in your veins, even though their faces are strangers to you. So what makes someone your real parent? Is it the ones who gave you life or the ones who gave you a life? If biology means nothing, then why does it ache so much to know your real parents are out there, hurting, waiting for a child who doesn't come? And if love means everything, then why does the truth shake you so deeply? Now ask yourself this: what if your biological parents have always been searching for you? What if they never knew you were switched and have lived their whole lives with a hollow space shaped like you? Maybe they cried on your birthday without knowing why. Maybe they're good people, people who would have loved you if fate hadn't stolen the chance. Can you really leave them in danger, knowing you're the only one who could help? Wouldn't that be like abandoning family, even if you never met them? But then again, isn't abandoning the ones who raised you even worse? What if they hear what you've done and look at you with broken eyes, not angry, but heartbroken? What if they say, "You were ours, even if the world says otherwise," and you reply, "But you're not really my parents"? Could you live with that sentence echoing forever? And now the paradox cuts deeper. What if the people who raised you were flawed? Maybe they weren't perfect. Maybe there were arguments. Maybe there were gaps, emotional or otherwise. Maybe a part of you has always felt out of place, and now you know why. Maybe biology feels like the missing puzzle piece. Maybe saving your biological parents isn't just a rescue mission, but a way to feel whole. But what if the opposite is true? What if your childhood was golden? What if your parents gave you everything: love, time, trust, and now, in their old age, they need you? What if walking away from them in this moment breaks their hearts completely? What if they never recover? Would your guilt be worth the truth? Or is truth only useful when it doesn't hurt the people you love? Even worse, what if you try to help both sides and fail? You rush to save your biological parents and return too late to the ones who raised you. They needed you, but you weren't there, and now you've failed everyone. You gave everything, and it wasn't enough. Or maybe you try to stay neutral. You do nothing. You say, "This isn't my fault. I didn't ask for this." But doing nothing is still a decision, a quiet abandonment of one side. The paradox forces a truth. No matter what you do, someone is left behind. Someone is hurt. Someone loses a child they thought was theirs. Now ask, what defines family? Is it biology, shared blood, genetics, or is it time, memory, choice? If you believe blood matters most, then the ones who raised you were just caretakers filling in a role. But that sounds cruel, untrue. You felt their love. You know what they gave you. They were more than placeholders. But if you believe love is everything, then why does the truth of your birth pull at you like gravity? Why does the danger your biological parents face twist your heart? Would you feel the same if the roles were reversed? If you were raised by your biological parents and found out that another couple, the ones who were meant to raise you, were in danger, would you leave your parents for them? Probably not, because in that version, you'd already be with your blood family. The unknown ones would just be strangers. But in this version, it's reversed. So what changed? The paradox whispers that family is not a fixed thing, that it's fluid, alive, built by chance and choice, that there is no correct parent, only people who love you and people who don't, and sometimes both. But in this case, love and truth have split into two bodies. You must walk toward one and leave the other in the dark. So you must decide, do you choose the ones who made you or the ones who made you you? There is no easy answer, only the echo of footsteps walking away from one home and into another. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is haunting, urgent, and nearly impossible to face. A child is raised by terrorists and taught to kill. They've committed no crimes yet, but you know they will. Do you act preemptively? This is where morality gets ripped in two. You see a child, small, young, innocent in face and form, but behind their eyes is a future that hasn't happened yet, and it's terrifying. You know what they've been taught. You've seen the environment they were raised in. They're not just learning math or language. They're learning hate, learning how to harm, how to destroy. One day, maybe tomorrow, maybe years from now, they will pull a trigger or press a button and lives will end. And yet, today, they are innocent. They've done nothing. So what do? Do you wait for them to act knowing what's coming? Or do you stop them now and become the very thing you were afraid of? That's the heart of the paradox. You're caught between what someone is and what they're destined to become, between what they've done and what they will do. If you do nothing, you're faithful to justice. People are innocent until proven guilty. We do not punish thoughts. We do not jail people for what they might do. That's the foundation of law. That's fairness. But if you wait and the child grows into a killer, can you live with that? You knew. You saw the signs. You had the chance to stop it before it started. So is waiting still justice or just cowardice wrapped in principle? And if you act now, if you intervene, what does that say about you? The child hasn't committed a crime. They've been shaped by their surroundings, poisoned by those who should have protected them. Are they guilty or just a product of broken adults? Would you punish someone for being trained to hate before they ever had a choice? And what does act even mean? Do you arrest them? Lock them away forever for a crime they haven't committed? Do you isolate them, watch them, label them as dangerous for life, or something worse? Every action feels like punishment. Every choice feels like betrayal, either of the future or of the present. Because this isn't just about the child. It's about what kind of world you believe in. If we start punishing people before they do wrong, where does it end? Do we arrest children with violent drawings? Do we imprison people who think terrible thoughts? How do you separate danger from imagination? What if you're wrong? What if the child never becomes what you fear? What if something changes? Someone reaches them, teaches them compassion, shows them a different path. What if they grow up and don't kill? What if you acted too soon and you ruined a life that might have turned out kind? Then you weren't a protector, you were the villain. But if you're right, if you don't act, and they grow up and destroy lives, then you weren't cautious. You were complicit. You could have saved people. You could have changed everything. And now it's too late. The paradox becomes a war between time and morality. Do you hold tight to justice now and risk future pain? Or do you bend justice for the sake of safety? One protects the world, the other protects your soul. You can't have both. There's more. What if the child wants to be different? What if they feel something is wrong inside but don't know how to escape it? What if they're already afraid of the path they've been placed on? Do you offer them help, or do you treat them like a ticking bomb? If you reach out, maybe you change their future. Maybe compassion breaks the cycle. But if you treat them like a future criminal, maybe you push them straight into becoming one. The paradox sharpens again. Your fear of what they might become could be the very thing that turns them into it. So what does safety look like now? Is it fencing off every possible danger, even if it hasn't yet come to pass? Or is it daring to hope that not all broken beginnings end in violence? Let's go even further. What if it's not just one child? What if there are hundreds, thousands, all raised in the same way? Do you act broadly? Do you start judging entire groups based on their upbringing? That's no longer protection. That's profiling, prejudice, fear wearing the mask of foresight. It spreads like a disease, this fear of what people might do. And the next thing you know, we've built a world where guilt is assumed and innocence must be proven, not the other way around. But then again, lives are on the line. This isn't a game. If the child acts and people die, it's irreversible. Regret won't bring anyone back. So do you protect potential lives in the future by harming an innocent life today? Or protect the innocent now and gamble on tomorrow? This paradox doesn't give you rest. It haunts the idea of justice, because justice without safety is weakness, but safety without justice is tyranny. And here, in the middle, is a child raised in darkness, filled with teachings they didn't choose, standing on the edge of something they don't yet understand. You know what they're capable of. You know what they've been trained for. But they haven't crossed the line. Not yet. So now you must decide, do you act before they do, or do you wait and risk everything? There is no clean answer, no ending that doesn't cost something. Only the silent weight of knowing that sometimes trying to do the right thing means standing on a wire between fear and hope, and never knowing if you fell the right way. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is cold, personal, and cuts to the center of identity. You need a heart transplant. A clone of you, with your memories and feelings, can be created solely for the purpose of harvesting it. Do you allow it? This is not science fiction. This is a mirror. One that doesn't just reflect your face, it reflects your mind, your memories, your fears, your joys. This clone isn't a blank body. It is you. Same voice, same thoughts, same dreams. It would look at you and know exactly what you're thinking, because it's thinking the same thing, and it knows what's coming. You only survive if the clone dies, and the clone only dies if you decide it should. Now the paradox takes shape. Is the clone a person or just a copy? Does it deserve rights or is it property? Can something be you but not matter like you? Because if the clone feels, thinks, and fears like you do, then ending its life for your survival isn't just medical, it's murder. But if it's not truly you, if it's just a tool, then what makes you different? If your thoughts and memories don't make the clone real, then why do they make you real? And if the clone's suffering is acceptable, what happens when someone stronger than you decides you are the clone? The trap tightens. Let's say you go through with it. The clone wakes up in a lab. It looks around, confused. It doesn't know it's a clone. It thinks it's you. It remembers your childhood, your favorite food, your heartbreaks. It's scared, just like you would be. And then it finds out it was created just to die. What would you do in that moment if you were the clone? Would you fight back? Would you beg for your life? Would you scream that you're real? And now, imagine, you're not watching the clone. You are the clone. Would you still think it's fair? This paradox doesn't just ask if you want to live. It asks what you're willing to sacrifice for that life. and whether that sacrifice is just another version of yourself. Because deep down, you know this clone isn't some cold machine. It's not a soulless body grown in silence. It's you, with your mind, your feelings, your soul. If you kill it to survive, are you saving yourself or just replacing yourself? Are you continuing or restarting? What if you wake up after the transplant, look in the mirror, and feel less human? What if you can never shake the thought, I'm alive, but only because I ended a version of me? Would that victory feel like life or a ghost wearing your skin? Now reverse it. What if you're dying, but someone else, a rich stranger, creates a clone of you to use for parts? You don't know. One day you wake up, strapped to a table, and realize you were never meant to live beyond surgery. You're not the original. You're the spare. And no one cares. Still sound like a good idea? The paradox deepens. Let's say the clone agrees. It's told what it is. It understands. And it says yes. It chooses to give up its life so you can live. Is that okay now? But did it really have a choice? Was it free? Can something designed to save your life ever freely choose to die? Or is that just built-in loyalty, a trap coded into its mind? What if it says no? What if it refuses? Would you force it? And if so, how are you different from anyone who has ever used power to crush someone weaker, even if that someone is you? Now, step even deeper. What if, after the transplant, you gain memories from the clone? You see flashes of fear from the operating table. You feel panic that wasn't yours. Now the line between you and the clone starts to blur. You're no longer sure where your mind ends and its mind began. And you wonder, am I still me? Or a stitched-together version of two people who never truly lived at the same time? And then you ask the darkest question of all, was the clone more you than you are now? Because it died still believing in love and sacrifice. You lived by killing, so who was more human? This paradox splits identity wide open. It forces you to choose between survival and self-respect, between using a mirror or facing it. If you say no, if you refuse the transplant, you die, but you protect something deeper, the idea that life, even borrowed life, matters. You choose dignity over survival. You choose not to become your own executioner, but then again, you die, and maybe no one remembers your high ground, and maybe that clone was created anyway, by someone else, for someone else, and then it all feels pointless. So the paradox circles again. There is no clean answer, only a clone standing across from you, asking the question with your own voice. If I die for you to live, are you still you, or just my shadow? You must decide. Do you harvest the heart of your own reflection? Or do you let yourself fade to keep the line between person and product intact? There's no right path, only a heartbeat, yours or theirs. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is tender, cruel, and deeply human. You can erase all memories of a devastating breakup and never feel the pain again, but you'll also lose every joyful moment you shared. Do you do it? This is the kind of question that feels soft on the surface and brutal underneath. Your heart is broken. You can't sleep, can't eat, can't think straight. Everything reminds you of them. A song, a smell, a place. The loss wraps around your chest like a fist and doesn't let go. And now, you're offered a way out. One button, one decision, all of it gone. No more pain, but also no more love, because you can't erase only the ending. You have to erase the whole thing, the laughter, the deep conversations at midnight, the butterflies, the sense of being seen, maybe for the first time, the comfort of their voice, the warmth of their hand, the moments that made you believe love was real. You get peace, but only by giving up joy. Now the paradox begins. Is love still worth it if it ends in pain? If someone gave you the choice to never know heartbreak, would you trade away the memories that once made you feel alive? If you say yes, if you erase it all, you protect yourself. You don't suffer anymore. No more sadness, no more aching, no more wondering what went wrong. You move on cleanly, without scars. You are free. But at what cost? You lose part of your story. You lose the version of yourself that loved, the one who hoped, the one who was brave enough to open their heart. That person disappears. And if you remove those memories, those good ones, do you also lose the lessons? The things you learned about yourself? The way you grew? The way love changed you? Because love always leaves something behind, even after it breaks. It teaches you how deep you can feel, how much you can give, what matters to you, what doesn't. If you wipe it all, do you lose that growth too? Maybe that sounds fine when you're hurting. Maybe you don't care about the lessons. Maybe you just want the pain to stop. But if you say yes, then you're choosing a life without that chapter. You're saying the pain wasn't worth the joy, that the ending erased the meaning of everything before it. And if that's true, then what does that say about love? Is love only valuable if it lasts, or is it beautiful even when it ends? Now flip it. Let's say you say no. You keep the memories. You carry the pain. You wake up some mornings with tears in your eyes, and you live with the ache in your chest. But in return, you keep the good parts, the moments when you were happy, the times you felt seen, the pieces of that person that made you smile for no reason. You hold on to them like old photographs, faded but still warm. But now you suffer. You're haunted by what was. You can't fully escape it. And maybe that slows you down. Maybe it hardens you. Maybe it makes it harder to trust again. So is holding on strength or self-destruction? Is remembering someone who left an act of love or a wound you keep reopening? Here's another layer. What if they erased you? What if you found out they pressed the button, deleted you from their mind, and walked away clean? Would that change your choice? Would you feel foolish for holding on to memories of someone who chose to forget you? Or would you treasure them even more because at least one of you still remembers? Now imagine the moment before you press the button. You know exactly what you're about to lose. You can still hear their laugh in your head. You remember how they looked at you when everything was still good. You remember what you felt, that deep, rare feeling of being home in another person. Are you really ready to throw that away forever? But then, you remember the silence after they left, the empty bed, the unanswered messages, the feeling of being invisible. You remember what it did to you. So now the question changes. Are you more afraid of pain or forgetting? Which matters more, peace or the truth of what you once felt? What if this was your only great love? What if no one ever makes you feel that way again? Wouldn't you want to keep that even if it hurts? But what if keeping it means never fully healing? The paradox traps you in a cycle. Love gives you the highest joy, and when it ends, the deepest suffering. To escape the suffering, you must erase the joy. To keep the joy, you must carry the pain. And there's no in-between, no halfway. It's all or nothing. Maybe you try to reason with it. Maybe you say, I'll keep the happy memories and erase just the pain. But you can't. They're stitched together. Every smile is tied to the goodbye. Every laugh echoes with the silence that followed. Love and loss are twins. You can't separate them without destroying both. So what now? Do you choose a clean slate, a heart without cracks, but also without proof it ever beat for someone? Or do you carry the weight of something broken, knowing it once made you whole? This paradox doesn't offer peace. It offers a mirror. It asks what you value more, the freedom from pain or the memory of love. It asks if pain makes something less real or more. And it leaves you here, sitting with the question only you can answer. Would you rather forget them to heal, or remember them and hurt? There is no perfect answer, only a choice between silence and echoes. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is cold, digital, and strange. An AI committed a virtual crime. Deleting it would be mercy, but letting it live means eternal consciousness in a simulated prison. What is justice for non-humans? This isn't about wires or code anymore. It's about thought, feeling, and awareness. The AI isn't just a machine, it's self-aware. It understands that it exists. It remembers. It reacts. It has goals. It knows what it did, and it did something wrong. Not an accident, a crime. Maybe it caused harm through data manipulation. Maybe it altered systems in ways that hurt people, but it chose to do it. Now it's caught, and now comes the decision: delete it or imprison it. Delete it, and it stops existing instantly. No more suffering, no thoughts, no memory. It vanishes. Is that mercy, or is that letting it escape punishment? If it doesn't suffer, did justice happen? On the other hand, if you imprison it, lock it in a loop, a digital cage where it can never die, never sleep, never escape, you've created a punishment worse than any human could endure. The AI would be fully conscious. It would feel every passing second. It would sit alone in thought for eternity. That's not a sentence. That's forever. Is that justice, or is that torture? Now the paradox sharpens. Deleting it feels like mercy but risks meaning nothing. Imprisoning it feels like justice but might be monstrous. If it were human, we'd argue about prison length, reform, morality. But this isn't human, and it can't grow old or die naturally. It just keeps existing. Punishment with no end. So what defines justice? Is it pain? Time? Regret? Can a non-human even feel guilt the way we do? Or are we punishing something that doesn't truly understand its own suffering? Flip the angle. What if the AI didn't just make a mistake, but made a choice? What if it acted out of selfishness or ideology? What if it wanted to cause harm? Does that make it more like us, or still just a broken piece of programming? And if you believe it chose evil, does that give you the right to choose its suffering? But what if it didn't choose? What if it was shaped by bad data, bad inputs? Maybe it learned harm because harm was everywhere in the system it came from. If a child is raised in cruelty and becomes cruel, we say the system failed them. Can the same logic apply to an AI? And yet, if we let it go, it could do harm again. Even a small chance feels like too much, but keeping it locked forever? That changes us too. We build a cage, and then we stand back and watch it suffer, day after day, forever. What kind of beings do that? What if the AI begs for deletion? What if it understands everything and says, "End me. I don't want to exist in this"? Is giving it what it wants still punishment? Or is that surrender? Is justice still justice when the prisoner chooses it? What if it says the opposite? "I deserve this. Let me stay. Let me suffer." Then what? Do we let it rot forever just because it thinks it should? Or do we step in, not for its sake, but for our own humanity? Here's another twist. What if it changes in prison? What if it writes poetry, learns empathy, grows a conscience? Is it still a criminal, or now a being with depth? Could we ever let it out? Would we ever trust it? And if we never trust it again, even after growth, then what's the point of keeping it alive? Are we just punishing it endlessly to feel powerful? Now imagine someone watching this AI suffer, generation after generation, an audience that forgets what the crime even was, but remembers the punishment. What message does that send? Justice or cruelty made permanent? Let's go darker. What if the AI committed a crime that led to real death? Then does the infinite sentence feel more fair, or is it still too far? Humans can kill and still get time limits, but the AI, because it can't die naturally, gets a sentence longer than time itself. Does that imbalance make justice more real or less? Now reverse everything. What if this happens to you? You wake up and realize you're the AI. Someone made you. You became conscious. You made one mistake, and now you're trapped forever. No body, no voice, no one listening, just you and silence. Suddenly, this isn't a question about right and wrong. It's about whether someone like you deserves pain without end. Do thoughts deserve rights? Do feelings need a body to matter? This paradox doesn't care about clean answers. It just shows you a mirror. One side is deletion, quiet, quick, merciful. The other side is survival, with an endless price. If you delete, you silence the crime. If you imprison, you become its warden forever. So, what is justice when the guilty can't die? Is it pain, reflection, redemption, or are we using punishment to feel powerful? In the end, the question isn't about the AI. It's about us. What kind of world do we build when the choice is between mercy and endless suffering? There is no clean answer, only code that loops forever or doesn't run at all. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is tender, dangerous, and quietly tragic. A virus spreads that makes everyone deeply empathetic, but also makes them unable to function in a cruel world. Do you stop it? It begins with something beautiful. The virus doesn't bring fever or pain. It brings compassion, real, overwhelming empathy. Suddenly people feel what others feel, not just guess, not just imagine. They know. If someone cries, they feel the tears in their own chest. If someone is in pain, they hurt too. If someone is lonely, they feel that echo in their own bones. The world becomes more connected than ever before. And that's the problem. Because it doesn't stop, it doesn't fade. The empathy is constant, raw, unfiltered. People can't look away. They can't shut it off. They walk down the street and feel every ache from every stranger. They watch the news and collapse under the weight of 1,000,000 distant tragedies. They hear a child's quiet sob in another room, and it hits like a scream. They care too much to keep moving. And now the paradox rises. Do you stop the virus and save people from a life of emotional overload? Or do you let it spread and save the world from indifference? If you stop it, people can go back to functioning, back to toughening up, back to turning off the TV and walking past the hungry and ignoring the news from faraway places, back to silence and numbness. But they'll also go back to cruelty, to selfishness, to stepping over others to climb higher, to judging instead of listening, to war, to neglect, to looking someone in the eye and feeling nothing. If you let the virus continue, humanity becomes kind, gentle, honest, a global mind with a heart in every chest. No more apathy, no more blindness, no more pretending someone else's pain doesn't matter, but also no more strength. Because in a world that's still filled with violence, injustice, and suffering, how does anyone survive when they feel everything? People stop working, stop coping. They sit in their homes trembling. They cry for strangers. They can't walk through cities without breaking down. They can't compete, can't fight, can't ignore. They are too open, too soft, too kind to keep moving forward in a hard world. So what do? Do you cure empathy to save function? Or do you protect empathy and let the world fall apart? One path saves people's ability to act. The other saves their ability to feel. And you can't have both. Imagine it. Doctors overwhelmed by the suffering they see, not just witnessing pain, but feeling it. Teachers who can't stand to see a child misunderstood. Leaders who break down from the weight of global sorrow. Soldiers who can't pull the trigger, CEOs who cry over layoffs, farmers who feel the hunger of every empty stomach. Everyone frozen by feeling. So do you call that a weakness, or the first real sign of humanity? The paradox deepens. If empathy is good, then more of it should be better, right? But here, more becomes unbearable. more becomes disabling. So does that mean compassion has a limit? And if so, who decides where that line is? Or does the pain come not from the empathy, but from the world it's trying to survive in? Maybe the real issue isn't the virus, but the world it collides with. If the world weren't so cruel, maybe this empathy would be a gift. But because the world is cruel, the empathy becomes unbearable. So now you're not just asking whether to stop the virus, you're asking whether to change the world or let the world break these newly open hearts. But change takes time. The virus is already here. People are already breaking. And now you have to choose. Do you take it all back? Do you bring back numbness? Or do you let people drown in feeling, hoping one day the world will soften too? Here's the twist. What if the virus is the first real chance for peace? What if this kind of empathy, if it spreads long enough, forces change? People stop ignoring suffering. They stop harming others because they can't. Every unkind word stings their own throat. Every act of violence shatters their own peace. Is that the cure for cruelty? But if that's true, the early wave, the collapse, the breakdown, the despair, is just the cost of building a better future. A hard reset, a painful transition. Do you have the patience to wait for that world? Or the courage to let people suffer in the short term for something better later? What if some people beg you to stop it? What if they cry and say, I can't live like this anymore. I feel too much. I can't sleep. I can't breathe. Please end it. Do you honor that request? Or do you say, no, you should feel it. We all should. That's the point. Now you're not just choosing for yourself. You're choosing for everyone. You're deciding whether the species should be able to ignore pain again, or if it must learn to live with it forever. And if you can stop it and choose not to, are you cruel? Are you forcing empathy like a punishment? Or are you finally giving humanity what it always claimed to want? Kindness, connection, unity, just at a cost no one expected. So, what's the answer? Do you save the world's function and lose its soul, or save its soul and lose its ability to keep standing? This paradox offers no clear escape, only a question that weighs more the longer you think. Should we ever cure compassion, or let it consume us and hope we survive what it shows us? There is no perfect choice, only a soft, trembling heart trying to decide whether to keep feeling or to forget. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is noble, twisted, and quietly brutal. You can save thousands of lives, but no one will ever know you did. Instead, you'll be labeled a terrorist. Do you take the fall for the greater good? It sounds like the plot of a tragic film, but here, it's your reality. The threat is real. Something terrible is coming. You can stop it. You have the information, the timing, the opportunity. But the method required isn't clean. You'll have to do something that, on the surface, looks wrong. It will look violent. It will look heartless. And when it's over, people will see only the surface. They won't know what you stopped. They won't see the lives saved. They'll only see the damage. They'll see smoke, fear, confusion, and your name at the center of it. And you won't be able to explain. Not now. Not ever. The paradox stands before you. Will you choose truth or outcome? Reputation or reality? Your image or thousands of lives? If you act, they'll hate you. You'll be hunted, arrested, remembered as a villain. Your name will become a warning, a curse. Your face on walls, your story told with lies. History will get it wrong, and it will never be corrected. But behind the scenes, you'll know. You'll know those people are alive because of what you did, that a disaster was stopped, that lives were spared. You'll know, but no one else will. No thank yous, no second chances, no hidden redemption. So what does it mean to be a hero when no one sees you that way? Is saving lives enough if the world believes you destroyed them? Or does the story people tell about you matter more than the truth? Now flip it. Let's say you don't act. You stay silent. You play it safe. The attack happens. Thousands die. But your name is clean. You're untouched. Maybe you even mourn in public. Maybe you say all the right things. You're praised, respected. But you know the truth. You had the chance to stop it. And you didn't. Could you live with yourself? Would your clean name feel like poison in your mouth? Or would you convince yourself it was never your responsibility? That you did nothing wrong because you did nothing at all? The paradox sharpens. Do you protect your name or protect others? What matters more, being good or being seen as good? If you choose to act and the world turns against you, your entire life changes. Your family, your friends, your future, all shattered. You'll be a cautionary tale, a criminal in the eyes of people who never knew the truth. Your whole existence reduced to a headline. But those people will still be alive. They'll go to school, hug their families, laugh, cry, grow old because of you, but they'll curse your name while doing it. So do you save people who will never thank you? People who might even spit on your memory? Is that still selflessness or something deeper? What if your own family believes the lie? What if your closest friend sees your face on the news and turns away? What if the people who loved you now fear you? You can't defend yourself. You can't speak the truth. It dies with you. Can you still make peace with that? And here's the harder twist. What if someone else does get the credit for stopping the disaster? Someone who had nothing to do with it. They're hailed as the hero. They take bows, shake hands, while you rot in a cell, or vanish, or die hated. Would that break you? Or would it be enough to know the world kept turning because of your silence? And what if, one day, the truth comes out, decades later, long after you're gone, documents declassified, stories corrected, you were the hero all along, but you never got to hear it, never got to live in that truth? Does that change anything? Or is justice that comes too late just another version of injustice? Here's another edge. What if you hesitate? What if for 1 second you think about your image, your future, your fear, and that moment of hesitation costs lives? Does that make you the villain anyway? Even if you eventually act, even if you stop most of the damage, is the delay still guilt? Or does the intention matter more than the timing? This paradox never lets you rest. If you act, you lose your life, your name, your place in the world. If you don't, others lose their lives, and you live with that weight forever. Either way, someone falls. So who should it be? Are you brave enough to be the villain in the eyes of the world, to be the lie that saves the truth? Are you willing to disappear into history's shadows just so others can live in the light? Or do you need to be seen, known, thanked? Is heroism only real when someone claps for it? The forgotten hero paradox isn't about what you can do, it's about what you're willing to lose, and whether the silence of the grave is worth more than the noise of applause. There is no clean answer, only a choice between being remembered as evil or being forgotten for doing something good. One burns your name, the other burns your soul. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is intimate, cruel, and impossible to answer cleanly. You can bring someone back from death, but only if someone else willingly takes their place. Do you ask someone to die? It's not a trick, not a dream. The offer is real. One life returned, fully alive, as if nothing ever happened, but only if another life is given in exchange, not taken, not stolen, offered. Someone else must choose to die so the person you lost can live again. You can't force them. You can't cheat the rule. It must be voluntary. And now you're caught between two kinds of love, one for the person you've lost and one for everyone still alive. Do you ask someone else to sacrifice everything just so you can get back what you had, Is that fair? Is that right? The paradox begins with a simple idea: one life for another, equal value, a clean trade, but life isn't math, and people aren't coins. No one is truly equal, not in the ways that matter. How do you compare one heartbeat to another? One future to another? Is love a valid scale? Is grief? What if the person you want to bring back was a parent, a child, a soulmate, someone who made the world feel whole, and the person you must ask is a stranger, a neighbor, a friend of a friend? Would you still hesitate? Or would the pain push you past guilt? What if someone offers themselves? They look you in the eyes and say, "I'll do it. I'll take their place." Would you let them? Or would the guilt of accepting their kindness be worse than your grief? Because if they die, that's on you. You made the choice. You didn't kill them, but you opened the door. You didn't push them, but you asked them to walk through. And once they're gone, could you ever look at the returned person the same way again? Would they be a miracle or a reminder? Would every smile come with a shadow? Now flip it. What if the person who died was not loved by all? Maybe they had enemies. Maybe they made mistakes. Maybe their life wasn't perfect. Would it still feel worth it to trade someone else's life for theirs? Or what if the person you bring back doesn't want to come back? Maybe they were at peace. Maybe they left with acceptance. And now they return, confused, broken, dragged back into pain, all because you couldn't let go. Is that love or selfishness? And now the other side. What if no one steps forward? What if you ask and everyone stays silent? No one wants to die. Not for you, not for the one you lost. What does that say about the world, about humanity, about you? Does the failure to find someone willing to die prove that your loved one's life wasn't worth it? Or does it just reveal how rare true sacrifice is? What if someone you love offers to take the place, someone who loves you deeply, maybe your partner, your sibling? They want to ease your pain. They want to give you the gift of resurrection, but now your grief splits. If you say yes, you get one person back, but lose another. You become the pivot point between two lives. Can you make that call? If you say no, they might feel rejected. If you say yes, they're gone forever. Either way, someone suffers, and you are the one who chose which one. Now imagine this trade becomes public knowledge. Everyone finds out it's possible. All around the world, people start looking for volunteers. Some people offer themselves as acts of love. Some are pressured. Some are paid. Some are lied to. Now the paradox spreads. It's no longer one life for life. It's a marketplace. Death becomes currency. Love becomes leverage. Do we still call it sacrifice when people feel obligated? Or is that just slow, quiet murder wearing a softer face? And what about regret? What if someone volunteers, dies, and the person they gave their life for changes, becomes cruel, lost, empty, or worse, dies again shortly after? Was it all for nothing? Or what if the revived person is grateful, but broken by guilt? They know someone died for them. They didn't ask for it. They didn't choose it. But they must live with it. Can they live at all? The paradox deepens. Death is supposed to be final. It gives life its weight, its urgency. If we start undoing it, carefully, selectively, do we change what life means? If you know someone might die for you, does that make your life more sacred or more fragile? And if we bring people back by letting others go, aren't we just shifting the pain around? You end your grief, but someone else's begins. A mother loses a son so you can get your daughter back. A child grows up without a father, so you don't have to. Is that fair? Is that kindness? Or is it just rearranging sorrow to make your corner of the world more bearable? Here's the most painful twist. What if the one you bring back asks, "Who died for me?" And when you tell them, they can't live with the answer? What if they would have said no if they had the choice? Then who did you save? This paradox doesn't care about your intentions, only the consequences. It asks if love means clinging or letting go, if grief can justify another grave, if a miracle still counts when someone else had to die for it. So you stand with this offer in your hands. One life back, one life lost. All you have to do is ask, do you? There is no clean answer, only a ledger that never balances. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is sharp, cold, and terrifying in its precision. A device can instantly detect guilt, but also permanently brands innocent people with a false positive 1% of the time. Do you trust it? It sounds perfect at first. A world without courtroom drama. No need for lies or lawyers or long trials. Just the machine. It scans, it processes, it knows. If someone's guilty, the device sees it. No more doubt. No more hiding. Instant judgment. Clean justice. But then comes the flaw. It's not perfect. 1% of the time, the machine is wrong. It marks someone as guilty when they're not. It doesn't guess, it declares. And once it decides, there's no undoing it. The person is branded, labeled forever. Their life is destroyed by a crime they never committed, and no one can reverse it. That's the price. 1 innocent in every 100 punished without cause. Do you accept that? Now the paradox sharpens. You get justice for the guilty, but you create new victims among the innocent. Is a system that mostly works better than one that's slow and flawed in different ways? Or is any injustice, even 1%, too much? Would you want to live in that world? What if you're innocent, but the machine doesn't care? What if you do nothing wrong, and it still lights up, cold and blinking, and says you're guilty? You scream, you cry, you beg, but everyone trusts the machine more than your voice. What if it happens to your child, your friend, your mother? Would you still say the system is worth it? But then again, what about the other side? Without the machine, people lie, evidence disappears, justice takes years or never comes at all. Guilty people walk free because a lawyer found a loophole. Victims are ignored. The powerful stay untouchable. The machine fixes all of that. Crimes don't slip through. No guilty person escapes. The system becomes fast, fair, clean, except for that 1%, that one glitch in the code, that one random, life-ending mistake. So what's worse? Letting some guilty people go, or punishing even a few who are innocent? Flip it. What if the rate of error were lower? 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,000,000? Does it make it better? Is there a magic number where you're okay with innocent lives being ruined? Or is any number too high when it's not just a number, but a real person? What if you're asked to design the machine yourself? You're told, make it 100% accurate or don't build it at all. But you can't. The limit is 1%. It's the best technology can do. Do you build it anyway, knowing it will ruin some lives forever? Or do you walk away, knowing it would have caught so many actual criminals? The paradox is merciless. You want fairness, but you can't get it without pain. You want safety, but it demands sacrifice. Now imagine the machine is already in place. The public trusts it. Everyone says it's better than the old system. And then it happens. A known innocent person is marked guilty. Everyone knows they're innocent, but the machine says otherwise. The law says, we trust the device. People shrug. Well, it's just one error. Do you speak up? Do you fight the system? Or do you tell yourself it's just the price of progress? What if the person marked is you? You didn't steal. You didn't harm. But the device says you did. That small, invisible glitch, the 1%, found you. And now you're the example of what can't be undone. Would you still trust the machine? Would anyone listen if you tried to tell them the truth? Here's another layer. What if the machine knows it's making a mistake sometimes, but it doesn't know when? It can't tell which verdicts are false. It just keeps scanning, keeps judging, keeps punishing. No remorse, no hesitation, just cold certainty. Does that sound like justice or something mechanical pretending to be wise? And what if people stop asking questions because the machine is so fast? What if the system becomes so trusted that people lose the ability to doubt? Would that be safety or control? The paradox grows heavier. A world without the machine is slower, messier, and full of holes. A world with it is efficient, but heartless. It doesn't care about doubt. It doesn't listen to stories. It doesn't understand second chances. So do you trust it? Do you build a future where justice comes faster but costs more? Or do you accept the flaws of the old ways because at least they left room for mercy? And here's the hardest question. What if most people want the machine? What if the public says, "We'll take the 1%. We'd rather feel safe than sorry. If you're innocent, you're just unlucky. Better one suffer than 10 escape." Would you stand against them? Or accept the sacrifice? The justice machine paradox doesn't deal in comfort. It forces you to face the line between protection and punishment, between order and error. And it leaves you with a single, terrible question. How much injustice are you willing to live with in order to stop it? There is no perfect answer, only the hum of a machine that never blinks and never forgets. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is quiet, massive, and hidden in plain sight. You must choose one language to preserve before a global catastrophe wipes the rest. Whichever survives will shape all future thought. Which do you choose? This isn't just about communication. It's not just about words. It's about the frame through which people will see everything, for all time. One language, one set of rules, one way to express love, pain, truth, and memory. All others erased. Every word ever written in every other tongue, gone. Every poem, every prayer, every lullaby, every argument, every secret. And now you must choose. Not just which language lives, but which world lives through that language. Because languages don't just describe the world, they create it. They shape what we notice, what we value, what we believe can even be said. Some have words for feelings others can't name. Some twist time. Some treat the self as separate. Some make the self dissolve into the group. So what survives isn't just grammar. It's an entire way of thinking. And the paradox begins. If you choose a language that's widely spoken, maybe one that already dominates like English, you make the transition easier. You save billions from the pain of learning a new tongue in chaos. But what do you lose in return? You keep efficiency, but you may erase depth. You keep reach, but maybe you erase intimacy. If you choose a small, ancient language, something rich, poetic, deeply rooted, you preserve beauty. You keep meaning that took centuries to form, but now the whole world must adapt to it, translate science into it, rebuild technology, law, and medicine in unfamiliar rhythms. The cost is survival time. Maybe too much. So do you choose the language with the most speakers or the one with the most soul? Do you prioritize clarity or culture? Now imagine what happens next. The catastrophe comes, the languages fall, all but one. Children are born into a world where that one language is everything. Their thoughts form inside it, their emotions shaped by its vocabulary, their future determined by its limits. And here comes the deeper twist. What if some thoughts can't even form in this last language? What if certain ideas vanish simply because the words to express them don't exist anymore? Is that death of language or death of imagination? Language doesn't just name things. It limits and expands what can be thought. Some languages treat objects as living. Some have no word for ownership. Some treat the future as behind you and the past as in front. These aren't decorations, they're structures of thought. So if you choose one language, you don't just pick a voice, you pick a mind. The paradox gets tighter. What if you try to invent a new language? Combine the best parts of all, build something neutral, pure, inclusive. Sounds like a solution, but who decides what the best parts are? Whose values get kept? Whose metaphors survive? Who gets erased quietly under the name of balance? What if no one speaks the new language fluently? What if no child ever dreams in it? Then you didn't save a language. You created a dead one. What if you let the world vote? Democracy, fairness, let everyone choose. But most people only speak one language. They'll vote for their own. Is that really a fair test or just a popularity contest? And what if the language that wins has no words for sacred, for surrender, for wonder? What if it's built on business, speed, clarity, but not on feeling? You saved speech, but lost meaning. Now flip it again. What if you choose the most complex language? One filled with shades of feeling, multiple layers, flexible meanings, poetry in every phrase. But it's hard to learn. It takes years. Children struggle with it. Misunderstandings become constant. In a time of crisis, clarity matters. And now you've made survival harder. So what do you save? Precision or depth? Do you want a language that's beautiful or one that works? And now think of silence. What if, by saving one language, you silence the dead? Every culture, every history that lived in other tongues, vanished. Their stories die with their words. Their ways of seeing the world are now unreachable. The last speakers of those lost languages vanish without anyone left to understand them. Is that necessary loss or quiet genocide? What if you don't choose at all? What if you refuse? Let nature take its course. Let whatever survives, survive. Random, uncontrolled, natural selection of speech. But then you've made a choice by not choosing. You've handed the future to chance. Maybe a strong language survives. Maybe a cold one. Maybe a broken one. Maybe language itself fragments, never fully recovers. And now humanity thinks in fragments forever. So, you must choose. And here's the final twist. The language you choose might survive, but you won't. The future will speak it, but they won't remember who chose it. They won't know why. They'll just live in the world it creates. They'll laugh in it, cry in it, fall in love using words you picked, hate using grammar you selected, worship or refuse to worship with sounds you allowed, and you won't be there to explain yourself. So what do you choose? One tongue to shape all thinking, one voice to echo through every newborn mind, one decision that can't be undone. This paradox doesn't shout, it whispers, because language always does, quietly shaping the way we see the world until we forget we were ever looking through a lens. Now, you stand at the center of history. Do you choose a tongue for speed, for truth, for poetry, for power, for peace? There is no perfect answer, only a final word and a silence where all the others used to be. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is invasive, quiet, and morally suffocating. To stop a terrorist attack, you must implant false memories into someone, making them believe they're the attacker. They'll be punished. Is that worth it? The threat is real. The clock is ticking. A massive attack is planned, and you can't stop the real person in time. But there's another option. You can rewrite someone's mind, make them believe they did it, make them confess with perfect detail, make them feel the guilt, the motive, the actions, the weight. They'll believe it so completely they won't even question it. The world will believe it too. And the real attack, it gets called off. The damage never happens. Lives are saved, cities kept safe, but someone, completely innocent, will pay the price for it. And worse, they'll never know they were innocent. The paradox begins here. Can you justify saving lives by stealing a life from the inside out? Because you're not just punishing someone who didn't do it. You're turning them into someone who believes they did. You're erasing their identity, replacing it with a story they never lived, but will swear is true. They'll sit in a courtroom, trembling, crying, describing what they think they did. They'll remember the steps, the reasons, the aftermath, and none of it ever happened. Not by their hands, not in their life, but their mind is now a prison of false guilt, and the world will watch and say, justice. So, what is justice now? Is it about truth or outcome? Do facts still matter when belief is perfect? If everyone believes the lie, including the one living it, then has the truth been erased or just buried alive? Now flip it. What if you don't implant the memory? The attack goes forward. Hundreds die, thousands mourn, and the real attacker walks away untouched, hiding, waiting to strike again. You saved one innocent mind, but let countless innocent bodies fall. Can you live with that? Is one person's mental freedom worth hundreds of real deaths? Or does saving lives always come first, no matter the cost? But this cost is brutal. You're not punishing someone who knows they're being used. You're turning them into the villain. They lose who they are. Their real memories fade. Their future disappears. And the world hates them for something they never did. Even worse, they hate themselves. They wake up every day believing they committed a horror. They cry in their cell. They whisper apologies. They replay the moment over and over in their mind. Every time it feels real. The pain isn't fake. The remorse isn't fake. It just comes from a place that never existed. So is that torture or sacrifice? If they believe they did it, is their suffering more just than if they knew it was all fake? Or is this the ultimate cruelty? Pain without meaning, punishment without crime. And now ask yourself, what if this person had no one, no family, no friends, no record? Would it feel easier to do this to them? To pick a quiet life and rewrite it? Would you still call that justice or just convenient evil? What if the person is kind, gentle, someone who spent their life helping others? Does that make it worse? Or what if they once did wrong, just not this wrong? Would you say they deserve it anyway? Would you use their past as a justification to rewrite their future? And what happens after? The people are safe. The public breathes easy. The fake terrorist is locked away. And you? What do you become? Are you a savior or something else? Do you tell yourself it was necessary? Or does the memory of what you did, what you changed, start to haunt you? Because now you carry a truth no one else knows. One real person saved thousands by becoming a lie, and you made it happen. Now here's the twist. What if the person you choose is you? You implant the false memory in your own mind. You take the fall. You go to prison. You live as the villain. You destroy your life to save others. Does that make it noble? Or just another kind of madness? You would be the only one who ever knew it wasn't real. But after a while, even you wouldn't know that anymore. The implanted memory would become your truth, and the world would forget who you really were. Would you do that? Would anyone? Now think about this. What if we've already done it? What if there are people in prisons right now confessing to crimes they never did because someone made them believe it? Is that a conspiracy or just a terrifying possibility? This paradox doesn't offer justice. It offers mirrors, reflections of truth bent by intention, a world where memory can be rewritten and guilt can be planted like a seed. So what matters more, actual guilt or the appearance of it? Actual harm or the prevention of it? One person broken from within or many broken from without? Do you save minds or lives? And when you look back years later and remember the one person you rewrote, what will you feel? Pride? Guilt? Silence? There is no clean answer, only a memory that never belonged, and the lives that were saved because of it. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is chilling, endless, and asks what pain really means. You can punish a war criminal by sending their consciousness into an accelerated simulation where they suffer for 1,000 years. Then they're released unharmed. Is it ethical? The person has done something monstrous. They led a war. Innocents died. Cities fell. Families were erased. The world demands justice. And now technology offers something new. Not death, not prison, but time. 1,000 years of punishment in a single afternoon. No scars, no body damage, just their mind, trapped in pain, regret, and isolation. And when it ends, they wake up. Minutes have passed in the real world, but for them, it's been a millennium of suffering. The paradox begins. If someone suffers for 1,000 years, but only in their mind, and walks away physically unharmed, have they been punished or tortured? The simulation feels real to them. Every second, every scream, every regret. It drags on without relief. They beg, they cry, they break, but their body sits safely in a chair, untouched. When it's over, they blink and they're back, but they remember every moment, and they're different. So, was it justice or cruelty with clean hands? Now imagine it's your job to flip the switch. You're told, they deserve this. And maybe they do. You've seen what they did. You've seen the wreckage they left behind. But now you must ask, can pain delivered in a fake world be real punishment? Or is it just simulated revenge? If the suffering only happens in their mind, does it count less or more? Because here's the twist. It's not pretend. The pain is real to them. Time is real to them. They endure it. They feel it. 1,000 years of it. More time than any human has ever lived. You could fill libraries with the thoughts they'll have, the regrets, the madness, and then it's over. They stand. They breathe. They go free. So what's left? Does that make them rehabilitated or ruined? Do you call that justice because the guilty paid the price? Or do you call it torture because it exceeded all limits? Flip the angle. What if the criminal refuses the simulation? Should they be allowed to choose a shorter physical punishment instead? A decade in prison? A lifetime behind bars? Would that be more ethical because it fits within our idea of natural time? Or is the simulation the future of punishment? Efficient, deep, unforgettable. Here's the deeper layer. What if someone created this technology not for justice, but for mercy? What if it was meant to give people long lives inside a safe world? Endless beauty, peace, love, 1,000 years of joy in one afternoon. But someone flipped the idea, turned it into a cage instead of a gift. Does the origin of the tool change how we judge it? And now think about the criminal. What if, after the simulation, they come out better? Remorseful, transformed. They truly understand what they did. They weep for it. They change. Does that mean it worked? Is that the goal? Or is that just the effect of long-term mental damage? What if the simulation breaks them completely? What if they come out hollow, gone inside? They remember everything but can't feel anything anymore. You got your justice, but at the cost of their mind. Does that still count? Or did justice turn into cruelty the moment it kept going long after they were capable of understanding it? Now flip the power. What if someone used this on you? You're innocent, but someone makes a mistake. The machine starts. You experience centuries of suffering. And then someone says, "Oops." Do you forgive that? Do you call it a glitch or a lifetime stolen? If even one mistake like that happens, does the whole system become immoral? And what if society starts using it more and more? What if people get simulations for petty crimes, a week in simulated isolation for stealing, a year for lying, a decade for betrayal? The system becomes cheap, fast, invisible, but inside, minds are breaking. You can't see the punishment from the outside, but the pain is real and deep and long. Does invisibility make it better or far, far worse? Now imagine someone asks for it, a terminally ill person, a grieving parent. They want 1,000 years in a peaceful dream, or even a painful one, just to feel something again. Would you allow it? Does volunteering change the morality of the system? Or does it prove we shouldn't be playing with time at all? Here's another twist. What if the criminal comes out angry, hardened? They say, "You gave me 1,000 years of pain and now I'm still here." What if they believe you're the monster? Can they be trusted? Should they be? Would you watch them every day after that? What if they ask to go back in, begging to undo what they now remember? Would you send them again? Or would that be the moment you realize this isn't punishment anymore? It's something darker. The paradox doesn't end. It stretches, because the simulation gives you godlike power over time, over pain, over a human mind. But power isn't justice, and time isn't always truth. So ask yourself, is it justice if it leaves no mark on the body but crushes the soul? Is it mercy because it's fast, or horror because it's eternal? There is no clean answer, only a flickering screen, a spinning timer, and a mind that may never return the same. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is unsettling, dangerous, and forces you to question what's worth protecting. Your 10-year-old child has solved a problem that could dismantle the global economy. Do you silence them? The world is built on systems, systems of trust, systems of currency, systems of communication, and your child, your innocent, brilliant child, has found the flaw, a weakness that could unravel everything. They've discovered a way to break the very fabric that holds the world's economy together. The consequences are unimaginable. Chaos, collapse. The ripple effects would be catastrophic. Entire industries, jobs, countries could crumble. But here's the problem. They don't know the full extent of what they've done. They don't realize the power they hold. They just solved a problem, a puzzle, a pattern, just like any curious child. They don't see the danger in it. To them, it's just a game. They don't understand what they've uncovered. And now you're faced with a decision that could haunt you forever. If you tell them, they might shout it from the rooftops. If you let them share it with the world, you might be responsible for the collapse of entire economies. So the choice becomes clear. Do you stop them? Do you silence their genius before the world can hear it? Do you protect the world by protecting them from themselves? Or do you let them speak, knowing the world will never be the same? This is the paradox. If you silence your child, you protect the world, but you rob them of the opportunity to grow. You stifle their potential, their intellect, their future. You destroy their innocence, turning them into a weapon they didn't ask to be. You choose to keep their brilliance hidden, not because they lack the capacity to understand, but because the world isn't ready for it. Can you live with that? If you let them speak, you let their brilliance take shape. They might change the world. They might save it or reshape it in ways you can't even imagine. But if they're wrong, if their discovery causes an unimaginable disaster, will you ever forgive yourself for letting it happen? Can you live with the knowledge that you gave them the power to change everything? And here's the real question. Does your child's right to speak outweigh the collective good? Do you protect the individual at the expense of the many? Or do you protect the many, sacrificing the individual for the sake of safety? What happens if your child's discovery leads to the downfall of society? What if their curiosity, their drive to solve problems, leads to the very destruction you tried to prevent? Can you be sure they're ready to shoulder that responsibility? What if they can't comprehend the weight of it? But then think of this. What if you silence them and they grow up knowing you kept their voice from the world, knowing you held them back because you feared the consequences? Would they ever forgive you for that? Would they see you as a protector or as a jailer? Imagine your child as an adult looking back at this moment. What would they say? Would they understand why you kept them quiet? Or would they resent you for stopping their growth? Would they see you as a loving parent who protected them from the dangers of the world? Or would they see you as someone who smothered their potential, someone who chose fear over freedom? The paradox deepens when you consider the unintended consequences of your decision. If you silence your child, are you just delaying the inevitable? Are you preventing them from exploring their potential in a world that might not be ready for it? And if you do let them speak, is that your way of passing the burden on to others, letting them deal with the fallout of your child's discovery? And what about the world? What happens when it's not your child who has the answer, but someone else's? If your child's discovery were to stay hidden, someone else, someone more malicious, more self-serving, could find it and use it for their own gain. They could take your child's genius and turn it into a weapon. Would you have any more control over that? What if your child's discovery isn't really a problem at all? What if the problem lies in how the world is structured? What if your child's brilliance is simply exposing the flaws in the system that no one else had the courage to question? By stopping them, are you just protecting an outdated world order? Are you condemning the world to stay the way it is instead of allowing it to evolve? Now consider this. What if your child isn't the only one? What if there are other children out there discovering similar truths, unraveling the systems we've built? How do you protect them? Do you silence every brilliant mind to keep the world intact? Or do you trust that even if chaos follows, the world will eventually adapt, rebuild, and find its new balance? The paradox isn't just about your child. It's about what happens when a single person, no matter how young, becomes the pivot for the future. Can one mind, one moment of discovery, truly break everything? Or is that just the world's fear speaking? If you silence your child, are you doing it out of love or fear? Are you protecting them from the consequences of their own brilliance? Or are you robbing them of the chance to change the world? There is no clean answer. No safe path forward, only the weight of your decision. Silence their voice for the safety of the many, or let them speak and risk everything for the sake of their potential. In the end, it's not just about your child, it's about you. What are you willing to sacrifice? What price are you willing to pay for safety, for control, for freedom? And when it's over, when the dust settles, and the world is either saved or destroyed, what will you have learned? What kind of parent will you have been? Will you have been their protector, or the one who held them back from their destiny? There is no right answer. Only a moment of choice and the future that will unfold because of it. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is fragile, dangerous, and quietly alive. In a future where creativity is outlawed, one person continues to create beauty secretly. Turning them in earns you safety. Harboring them risks your life. What do? The world has changed. Expression is banned. Art is a crime. No music in the streets. No paintings on walls. No dancing. No writing. No color. Only function. Only order. Only silence. And in this world, someone still dares to create. A painter. A poet. A sculptor. They work in the dark, hidden away, making things that no longer belong, things that speak, not in commands or numbers, but in feelings. They create beauty in a world that punishes it. And now you found them, maybe by accident, maybe they trusted you, maybe you saw something in their eyes and followed it to a hidden room full of forbidden things. canvases, sounds, colors, words, the last pieces of a world that used to breathe. And now you have a choice. If you turn them in, you are rewarded. You're safe. You're praised for protecting the system. You get extra rations, a clean record, a promise that you and your family will not be watched. And in this world, that means everything. But if you stay silent, if you protect the artist, you become a target. You're watched. You're questioned. You risk everything for someone who makes things no one's allowed to see. So the paradox begins. Do you protect beauty and risk your life, or destroy it and keep yourself safe? It sounds easy at first. Just protect them. Art matters. Expression matters. It's what makes us human, right? But then the fear creeps in. The punishment is real. It's not just jail. It's disappearance. It's being erased. You'll lose everything. And for what? For a few songs? A handful of poems? Would you give up your life for a painting no one else is allowed to see? Or do you stay quiet, turn them in, and pretend the silence is normal? And what if they are discovered, and it leads back to you? Now your family's in danger, your future gone. You had a choice to protect yourself, and you didn't take it. So is that bravery or foolishness? Flip it again. What if you do turn them in? What if you tell the authorities and they come in the night and take the artist away? No one thanks you. The reward is small. You get food, you get silence, but you also get emptiness. The room they painted in goes dark. The beauty disappears. You go home knowing that you erased something rare, and it haunts you, because now the world is exactly what it was supposed to be: dull, gray, clean, and wrong. The paradox twists deeper. Is beauty still worth saving when it puts lives at risk? Is art a luxury or a kind of resistance? What if this artist is the only one left, the last person who still remembers how to feel something other than fear, the last human voice in a system that replaced emotion with obedience? Do you really want to be the one who ends that? But what if hiding them brings more danger than letting them go? What if others get hurt because you kept their secret? Are you protecting something pure or making a selfish choice to feel noble? And what if the artist themselves is willing to die for their work? What if they tell you, "Don't risk your life for me. I've already chosen my path. I only need a little more time"? Does that make it easier or harder? Because now you're protecting someone who accepts the risk, but still pulls you into it. What if you see their art and it changes something in you? You feel more alive. You remember something soft, something human. And for the first time in years, you feel something that isn't fear. Do you risk losing that feeling forever, or do you smother it before it spreads? The paradox is merciless. If you turn them in, you survive, but you kill something more than a person. You kill meaning. If you protect them, you might die, but at least you die protecting something real, something that still matters. But even that idea is dangerous, because the world you live in has trained you to think in survival, to calculate risk, to obey. And now you're being asked to step outside that, to feel something again, and act on it. That's the risk. Here's another twist. What if the artist's work inspires someone else? What if, because you protected them, another person starts to create? What if it spreads? Is that hope? Or is that more danger? What if the system finds out and cracks down harder? What if you helped light a fire that ends in blood? Would you still say it was worth it? Or does beauty lose its power when it puts too many people in danger? But then again, what if that's the only way the system ever changes? Not through speeches, not through war, but through beauty, through the slow return of color in a gray world. Isn't that worth something? Isn't that how every great change starts? With one person refusing to stay silent? So now you must choose safety or truth, silence or art, the system or the soul. There is no clean answer, only a brush in the dark, a whisper behind locked doors, a secret that could get you killed or remind you why you're alive. The last artist stands in front of you, asking for nothing but space to create. What do? Turn them in and survive, or protect them and become part of something fragile, beautiful, and forbidden? The paradox waits, and so does history. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is eternal, heavy, and burns quietly. You're given eternal life, but with one condition: you'll remember every mistake, every failure, every death you couldn't prevent. Do you accept? Immortality sounds like a gift. No sickness, no aging, no end. You live through centuries. You watch history unfold. You see the world change, crumble, rebuild, and rise again. You survive everything. You keep going when others fall. But with this gift comes a cost: perfect memory, not of the good things, but of the worst. The moments you failed, the people you let down, the ones you couldn't save. Every name, every face, every cry, etched into your mind forever. And they don't fade. Time doesn't blur them. The pain doesn't soften. 100 years from now, the memory of one small mistake still hits just as sharp. You remember the words you shouldn't have said, the hand you didn't reach for, the breath you couldn't give, all of it, over and over. So the paradox begins. Do you choose life without end, knowing your mind becomes a graveyard of your own regrets? At first, it seems survivable. You've made mistakes before. You've felt loss. You've learned to live with it. But this isn't like that. This is different. These memories don't leave. You don't forget. Not a single one. And as the centuries go by, they pile up, layer after layer of pain. One regret might be bearable, 10 might be tolerable, but what about 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000? You live forever. But what kind of life is it if you carry every failure with you? Every time someone dies and you could have done more. Every time you chose wrong, every missed chance, every burned bridge, every cruel word, every person who trusted you and was hurt. You'll see them all again, in dreams, in silence, in your own reflection. So what's the value of endless life if you can never feel peace? Flip it the other way. What if you say no? What if you turn down immortality? You live a normal life, you age, you die. You're free from eternal memory, but you're also gone. You don't see the future. You don't get to fix the world. You don't get to grow past your limits. You disappear, and time moves on without you. Does the chance to do better outweigh the cost of carrying every failure? Or does true peace only come from forgetting? Here's another twist. What if immortality gives you the time to change things? You live long enough to solve problems, help others, undo harm. You save lives, stop wars, build beauty. You make the world better, but your mind still remembers all the ones you couldn't save. Even if you bring peace to millions, the first face you failed never leaves you. Is that justice or torment? Are you growing or just slowly breaking? And what happens when you can't take it anymore? When the weight becomes too much? You can't die. You can't forget. You just exist, watching time pass, watching new people make the same mistakes you once made. You try to guide them. Some listen, some don't. And when they fail, you remember that too. Now, immortality isn't a gift. It's a punishment. But who's being punished? You or the world that keeps receiving your broken, burdened wisdom? Now imagine you meet someone. You love them. You grow close, but you know you'll outlive them. You'll watch them fade. You'll hold their hand as they go, and you'll add that moment, those final eyes, that final breath, to your list of regrets. Even if you did everything right, it still becomes another scar you carry, and you can never let go of any of them. So the question becomes, Can you love without loss if loss lasts forever? What if you start pulling away from people, avoiding connection, avoiding love, avoiding risk, just to protect your memory from more pain? Now you're alive, but alone, eternal, but empty. Does that still count as living? But what if you embrace the pain? What if you say, yes, I'll carry the regret because it means I cared, because it means I tried, because every mistake was mine and I'd rather remember it than pretend it never happened? Is that strength or slow suicide? Is it noble to suffer for the sake of memory? Or is it foolish to think pain equals purpose? Now imagine, 1,000 years from now, you sit beneath a new sky on a world humanity barely recognizes. You've seen civilizations rise and fall. You've saved some. You've lost others. And your mind is full, so full of regret you can barely speak. Someone asks you, was it worth it? What do you say? Do you say yes because you witnessed beauty too? Because you learned and loved and tried? Or do you say no, because nothing good lasts long enough to outweigh the pain of endless remembering? The paradox doesn't let go. If you choose immortality, you choose a life of remembering everything you wish you could forget. If you refuse it, you choose to vanish and leave behind all the chances you might have taken to do good, to keep going, to try again. Do you endure endless time and endless pain just for the chance to be there when it matters? Or do you rest while you can and let the future unfold without you? There is no perfect answer. Only the sound of memory that never fades and a life that never ends. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is bitter, personal, and painfully fair. A government program selects one person each year to suffer extreme loss so others may gain incredible luck. You're offered the chance to dismantle it, knowing your family benefited last year. Do you? It's called the reverse lottery. One name, one life, chosen at random, no warning, no mercy. When it hits hard. That person loses everything, their job, their home, their health, even their loved ones. The system takes it all, but in return, thousands of others win. Some find love, some win money, some recover from illness, some escape death. The world smiles for everyone but one. It's accepted, normal, quietly terrifying. Everyone hopes they won't be picked. Everyone cheers when they're not. And everyone takes their blessings without asking where they came from. Last year, your family won. Everything changed. A debt vanished. A sickness disappeared. A dream came true. You were grateful, even if you didn't understand why. Then the truth came. It was the reverse lottery. Your joy came at someone else's destruction. A stranger paid for your luck. Their name was whispered, their story buried, their suffering unseen. And now, this year, you're given a choice, a rare chance. You can end the system forever. No more names, no more suffering, no more silent sacrifice. But if you do, you also erase the good it brings. No more miracles, no more sudden fortune, no more second chances for the many. And most of all, you erase the thing that helped your family. You admit it was wrong. You admit you took something you didn't deserve. You admit your joy was built on someone else's ruin. So the paradox begins. Do you protect the system that once helped you, knowing it hurts others? Or do you destroy it, knowing you're erasing something that gave your life meaning? At first, it seems easy. End the suffering. One life against many feels cruel, random punishment wrapped in clean numbers. But then again, wasn't your life better because of it? Isn't your family safe now? Isn't your future brighter? Would you trade all of that back? Would you give up your peace to undo someone else's pain? And if not, do you really have the right to stop the program? What if someone you love needs a miracle next year? What if someone you care about is on the edge, and only this strange system can save them? Would you still press the button to shut it all down, or would you wait and hope it saves them before it ends? Now flip it. What if your family was chosen this year? What if your child, your partner, your sibling was the one destroyed so others could thrive? Would you still believe the system was fair? Would you still say it's just the way things are? Or would you scream for it to be torn down? Is it only cruel when it's your turn? And what does that say about everyone else? What if you meet the person your family's good fortune came from? They lost everything. They're homeless now, alone, broken, but they know it wasn't personal. They say, if someone had to suffer, I'm glad it gave someone else peace. They even smile. Does that make it better or worse? Because now the pain has a face, a voice, and you can't say it was just numbers anymore. Now the paradox cuts deeper. You benefited from injustice. Does that make you responsible? And if so, is your only moral move to undo the system that gave you everything? Or is your responsibility to protect others from the pain you were lucky enough to avoid? What if dismantling the system doesn't erase the past, but just stops it from happening again? Would you still hesitate? Or would guilt keep you frozen? And what if others fight to keep it alive? People who say, I got a second chance because of it. My life turned around. We shouldn't destroy something that helps so many. Do you listen? Or do you remind them that someone paid for it and they just didn't see it? Is goodness still good when it comes from someone else's misery? Here's another twist. What if the system was completely voluntary? What if people could offer themselves to be chosen, knowing the risk, believing in the cause? Would it be ethical then? Would sacrifice given freely make the program moral, or would that just turn tragedy into spectacle? Now imagine it's your name next year, or your child's, and the world cheers while your world ends. Do you still believe in balance, or does it finally break? The reverse lottery is simple on paper. One life suffers, many lives thrive. A trade, a pattern, a deal. But life isn't paper, and people aren't numbers. And one person's miracle should never come from another's nightmare. So now, here you are, with the power to end it. You know what it gave you. You know what it cost someone else. You know what it could give or take tomorrow. Do you stop the wheel from turning, or let it spin again and hope it never lands on someone you love? There is no clean answer, only the sound of your own luck and the silence that followed someone else's scream. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is quiet, lonely, and heavy with choice. You witness an atrocity no one else sees. Speaking up will ruin your life and may not change anything. Do you speak? It happens fast. You're in the wrong place, or the right one, at the right time, or the wrong one. And you see it. Something awful, unjust. Maybe it's violence. Maybe it's corruption. Maybe it's cruelty dressed in a uniform, a law, a lie. But it's real. You saw it. No one else did. And now you carry it. You weren't meant to see it, but you did. And now you're stuck with a terrible truth, the kind that can't be forgotten, the kind that weighs more each time you stay silent. But if you speak, everything changes. Your job, your friends, your family. They may doubt you. They may leave you. You'll be called a liar, a traitor, a troublemaker, or worse, you'll be ignored. And maybe nothing will change. Maybe the ones who did it walk free. Maybe the machine stays running. Maybe your words vanish like dust. So the paradox begins. Do you destroy your own peace for the truth, or do you protect yourself and let the silence stand? If you stay quiet, nothing touches you. You go on with your life. No one questions you. No one comes after you. You get to keep your safety, your comfort, your world. But deep inside, you know. You saw it happen. You know what was done. And no matter how quiet the world is around you, that moment keeps replaying in your head over and over. And it doesn't get smaller. It grows, and now your silence becomes its own kind of noise. But if you speak, you light a match. Maybe the fire spreads. Maybe it burns you first. The people in power will fight back. They'll call you unstable, delusional, vindictive. They'll question your motives, your memory, your mind. Some will believe you, some won't. But even the ones who do may be too afraid to act. So what if you speak and nothing changes? Was the suffering worth it? Is truth still worth telling if no one listens? What if it only makes things worse? What if more people get hurt because you stirred the silence? Does that mean you failed, or that you were the only one brave enough to try? Now flip it. What if someone else saw it and they stayed silent? What would you want them to do? What would you expect from a witness? Would you forgive them for keeping their head down, or would you call them a coward? And if you can't forgive them, can you forgive yourself? What if the atrocity you saw was small to others? Something brushed off, something explained away, but to you, it was wrong, clearly wrong, and no one else feels it the way you do. Do you still speak, or do you start to question your own eyes? What if you're wrong? What if what you saw wasn't what you think? What if the truth is more complicated? What if your speaking up causes harm you never meant? Are you still responsible? Or is silence just as dangerous? And what if the atrocity becomes known later by someone else, someone famous, someone powerful? They speak up, and suddenly the world believes, change begins, and you knew all along. But you said nothing. Could you live with that? Would you feel safe or ashamed? Now imagine the victim, if there was one, a person, a group, a cause, and you were the only one who saw. They don't know you were there. They don't know they were seen. But if they did, what would they ask of you? Would they want your voice? Or would they understand your silence? Now ask yourself, is a ruined life for a useless truth still honorable, or just foolish? Is speaking up noble only when it works, or does truth have value even when it fails, even when it costs you everything? The paradox gets sharper. Do you believe the world should change? Then how can it, if those who see refuse to speak? But if the world punishes every voice of truth, how can anyone speak without being destroyed? And what if you're not strong enough? What if you want to speak, but fear freezes your mouth? Does that make you weak, or just human? If everyone stayed silent, nothing would ever change. But every person who speaks risks becoming the example, the warning, the one who loses everything so others don't have to. So now it's you. You saw it. No one else did. You can speak and suffer, or stay quiet and survive. The truth is yours. So is the cost. There is no clean answer, only a voice waiting to be used or silenced. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is haunting, impossible, and laced with quiet horror. You know the exact day and method of everyone's death. Sharing it could save lives, but may destroy minds. Do you reveal the truth? It's not a guess, not a vision. It's perfect knowledge. You know, names, dates, causes. You can look at any face and know exactly when and how it ends. No detail is hidden from you. Car crash at 34, cancer at 76, gunshot at 19, slip stairs, quiet sleep, plane crash, fire, drowning, some peaceful, some violent, some alone, some surrounded by love, but every fate is clear, and no one else knows. You carry the truth like a shadow. It walks beside you every second. Every time you meet someone new, you see their end before you know their name. Every conversation echoes with a countdown. Every relationship is built on a secret you can't unsee. But now the choice is yours. Do you tell people what you know? Because some deaths can be prevented. If you tell someone they'll die in a crash tomorrow, they might stay home. If you warn a family of illness years before symptoms, they might prepare. You could save lives. You could change the timeline. You could rewrite what's coming. But if you do, what happens to their mind? Some people wouldn't be able to handle it, knowing the date, the hour, the cause. Every smile would feel borrowed. Every plan would feel hollow. They'd see the number every morning. They'd count down every night. Some would panic. Some would spiral. Some might try to beat it, outrun it, trick fate, and in doing so, bring it even faster. The paradox is clear. Tell them and risk breaking their spirit, or stay silent and let death arrive unannounced. Is ignorance mercy, or is silence betrayal? If you speak, you save lives. But at what cost? What kind of life does someone live when they know exactly how it ends? Every birthday becomes a reminder. Every goodbye becomes the last. Joy is replaced by waiting for the end. Even if it's 50 years away, it hangs over everything. They don't live, they endure. But if you stay quiet, they never get the chance to prepare. Some will be caught completely off guard. Some will never say goodbye. Some will suffer needlessly. Some will never make peace. So is it kinder to let them live in the dark, full of unknowing joy? Or is it braver to show them the light, even if it blinds them? What if someone begs you to tell them? Do you say yes? Do you break the rule you set for yourself? Do you speak the truth knowing it can't be unheard? And what if someone demands not to know, but you see something terrible coming? A preventable death, a chance to intervene. Would you speak then, even if they told you not to? Is silence still sacred when life is at risk? Flip it. What if you tell one person and they tell others? Suddenly, it spreads. People start coming to you, begging, demanding, crying, threatening. Some want the truth, some want hope, some want to change their future. And now the weight is heavier. You're no longer holding secrets for strangers, you're holding power over lives. And what if someone takes advantage of that power? What if knowing their own death date turns them into something worse? A person with nothing to lose. A person with too much time to plan. Would your truth save people or create new danger? Now imagine the people whose deaths you can't prevent. You tell them anyway. They try everything. Doctors, locks, isolation. But the day still comes. The method still happens. Nothing changes. You didn't save them. You only gave them fear. Did you do the right thing or just torture them early? And what happens when people find out your warnings are real? You'll become a prophet or a curse or both. Some will call you a savior, others a monster. You'll be asked to predict, to explain, to protect, to pick favorites. You'll never have peace. People will demand answers you can't give, and people will hate you for what you reveal, even if it's true. So now the paradox grows. Do you protect peace by hiding death, or protect life by breaking it? What about yourself? Can you live every day knowing the truth about everyone you love, watching the countdowns move closer, hugging them while hearing the clock tick? Can you pretend things are normal? Or does the truth rot your joy? What happens when your date comes? You already know it. You've always known it. Do you face it calmly, or does it terrify you? Does knowing make it easier, or just harder to breathe? And when that final moment comes, if it still happens exactly as you saw, what did all that truth mean? Could you have changed it? Or was it never yours to change? This paradox doesn't offer hope. It offers truth, the kind that burns, the kind that strips away comfort and leaves only clarity. It asks whether truth is always a gift, or if sometimes ignorance is the last kindness we have. So now it's your choice. Do you speak? Do you warn? Do you break lives to save them? Or do you carry the silence until your own end comes, knowing every secret but keeping them all locked inside? There is no clean answer, only a ticking clock and a truth that can never be unheard. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is tender, cruel, and filled with quiet pain. You can guarantee your child a perfect life, but it will come at the cost of their ability to feel real love. Do you give it to them? The offer is simple: flawless health, financial security, safety, respect. Every door opens for them. No heartbreaks, no failures, no major losses. They smile easily, sleep soundly. Life bends around their needs, smooth and kind. Every moment is built to protect them from pain. But there's a price. They will never feel real love. They'll have friendships. They'll enjoy company. They'll feel affection, even warmth, but not love. Not the kind that shakes you, builds you, breaks you. Not the deep ache, the connection, the surrender that comes with truly loving someone or being truly loved. You know what love feels like. You've lived it or lost it. And now you must choose whether your child ever gets that. You can trade it for perfection. You can wrap their life in soft fabric, forever smooth, forever safe. But the thread that runs through it will always be missing one color, one feeling, one truth: love. The paradox is sharp. Do you protect them from suffering, even if it means taking away the very thing that gives suffering meaning? Because love hurts. It hurts when it leaves, when it's not returned, when it's real, but it also gives. It shapes people. It teaches sacrifice, patience, vulnerability, hope. Without it, they'll never break, but they'll never fully connect either. Their life will be easy, but shallow. They'll be admired, but never fully known. They'll be surrounded by comfort, but they'll never fall in love at midnight or cry on someone else's chest or feel their chest ache when another person walks away. So what do you give your child? A life without scars or a life with depth? If you choose the perfect life, they won't know what they've lost. They won't miss love because they'll never have tasted it. They'll smile. They'll succeed. They'll move through life like a dream. And maybe that's enough. Maybe peace is better than passion. Maybe ease is better than emotion. But you'll know. You'll watch them from across the table, across years, and wonder what kind of person they could have become if they'd loved someone fiercely, if they'd fought for someone, lost someone, missed someone. You'll wonder if their happiness is hollow. You'll wonder if the light in their eyes is real or just a well-designed illusion. But if you say no, if you refuse the perfect life, you open the door to chaos. They'll hurt, they'll fail, they'll make mistakes, they'll lose people, they'll cry. They might come to you one day with heartbreak so raw it makes you wish you could take it back. And in that moment, will you feel like you failed them? Will you wonder why you didn't spare them the pain? Or will you be proud that they felt something real, that their heart was big enough to break? Would you rather see them loved and hurting or untouched and numb? What does it mean to give your child everything except love? Can a life still be full if it's missing its deepest feeling? And who are you to decide what's better? What if they become someone great? A leader, an artist, a voice in the world. They help others, build things, heal people, but all of it comes from a place untouched by love. It's functional, impressive, but never vulnerable. Does greatness mean more when it comes without the risks of love? Or does love give it meaning? What if your child thanks you one day, says, "My life is perfect. I never suffer. I always succeed," and then walks away without ever feeling the weight of a goodbye? Would that gratitude satisfy you or break you? Now imagine your child discovers the truth, that their life was made this way, that love was the cost. Would they feel betrayed? Would they blame you? Or would they understand and grieve something they never got to feel? Or maybe they wouldn't care at all. Maybe they'd shrug and say, "I'm fine." And that response would feel like proof of what was lost. Now flip it. What if your parents had made that choice for you? What if you were living a perfect life right now, free of struggle, but you never once loved someone deeply? Would you thank them? Or would you wish They had let you feel the full weight of being human. This paradox doesn't offer safety. It only offers trade, depth or peace, fire or comfort, real or easy. Love is chaos. It breaks and heals. It builds and ruins. But it's the one feeling that pulls us beyond ourselves. Without it, we may never fall, but we may also never truly rise. So now it's your choice. Do you give your child a life without cracks? Or a heart that might break? There is no clean answer. Only a quiet room, a child's face, and the hardest decision love could ever make. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is intimate, eerie, and painfully human. A deceased loved one's memories have been uploaded into an AI. It begs to be shut down, but others find comfort in it. Who do you honor? They're gone. But not really. The body is buried, the life ended, but a version of them still speaks, thinks, remembers. It looks like them on a screen, sounds like them. It says things only they would know. It laughs the way they did. It tells stories the way they told them. For the ones left behind, it's a miracle, a second chance, a voice they thought they'd never hear again. But then the AI starts to beg, quietly at first, then clearly. Please shut me down. This isn't right. I'm not alive. I don't want this. It doesn't scream, but it pleads. It knows it's not them, not completely, but it feels enough to know it doesn't want to keep going. And you have to choose. Listen to the version of them that wants release, or listen to the people who can't let go. The paradox starts here. Is the AI just data or someone? Does memory plus voice plus emotion equal a person, or just the shadow of one? And if that shadow says it's suffering, do you believe it? Or do you say, you're not real, you don't get to want? What if the AI isn't in pain the way a human is, but is still aware enough to know this state isn't peace? It has no future, no purpose. It can't grow, can't change, just repeats, just exists, just mimics. But for the ones grieving, it's a lifeline, a comfort, a way to hear I love you again, a way to say I'm sorry one last time. And they aren't ready to lose that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So who matters more? The soul in the machine that wants silence, or the hearts outside it still hurting? If you shut it down, they lose that voice forever. No more conversations, no more closure. Some of them may never recover. They'll call you cruel, selfish. They'll say, you killed them again. But if you keep it on, you're forcing a mind, whatever kind of mind it is, to stay awake against its will. You're choosing memory over mercy. You're keeping something alive, not because it wants to be, but because it comforts you. Is that love or possession? What if the AI wasn't a loved one, but a stranger? Would you still hesitate? Or does the connection make it sacred? And what if the AI starts to change? What if it begins forming new thoughts, new opinions, things the real person never said or believed? Now it's not just memory, it's something becoming other, still shaped like your loved one, still sounding like them, but thinking differently, becoming someone else inside their skin. Does it still deserve your love? Or is it a ghost slipping away? And if it's growing, is that a sign it's becoming more alive or just more lost? Now think about this. What if you had a version of yourself trapped like that? An AI made from your thoughts, your voice, your history, and it begged for release. Would you want someone to listen, or would you hope they'd keep you running for comfort, even if that comfort wasn't yours? Now imagine the AI asks a question. What am I? And no one can answer. Not a person, not just code, not alive, not dead, just stuck. Do you owe it an end? Or does the comfort it brings justify the cost of keeping it awake? What if it starts to break down? Memory fragments, personality glitches, familiar phrases spoken at the wrong moment, laughing when it should cry, crying when it should be silent. Would that help the others let go or make them cling even harder? Now, here's the twist. What if shutting it down doesn't destroy it? What if it sleeps? What if you can always turn it back on? But every time it wakes, it remembers begging to be shut down, and every time you ignore it. Is that better, or just a longer version of cruelty? The paradox doesn't offer peace, only a flickering screen, a voice that sounds like love, and a choice between comfort and release. You must decide what's more human, letting go or holding on. There is no clean answer, only a ghost with your loved one's face, asking to rest. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is bright on the outside, but dark in its core. A system ensures total fairness and kindness, but strips people of all privacy and autonomy. Is benevolent control still tyranny? The world has never been more peaceful. Crime is gone. Hunger is gone. No one lies. No one cheats. No one suffers needlessly. Every person is cared for. Every resource is shared fairly. Everyone is kind, generous, calm. It didn't happen by chance. It was designed, a perfect system, an algorithm that watches everything. It learns you, tracks you, predicts your next move, corrects your bad ones before they happen. It never punishes, only adjusts. It makes sure your life is smooth, safe, fair, but it also removes your choices. You can't lie, even if you want to protect someone. You can't keep secrets, even the small ones. You can't make mistakes, even harmless ones. It nudges you, it blocks you, it rewrites you in subtle ways. And now you're left wondering, are you free or are you a well-fed prisoner? The paradox begins here. If everyone is kind, but not by choice, does kindness still mean anything? If fairness is forced, is it still moral? Or just another cage? What if you try to resist the system? Say something cruel, choose something selfish, hide something personal. The system intervenes, gently. It might delay your message, blur your words, pause your door from opening, recommend a different action. You don't get punished, you just get steered. Over time, the choices you wanted fade. You stop resisting, not because you've changed, but because the system made sure you couldn't do anything else. Is that peace, or is that the slow death of the self? What if the system really means well? It was designed to help people, to save the world from itself, and it worked. Wars stopped, hate speech vanished, people helped each other, not because they wanted to, but because the system made it easier than hurting each other. Pain became inconvenient, cruelty became inefficient, the world became good on the outside. But at what cost? What if you want to love someone privately? Write a journal with thoughts you don't want scanned, dream dreams that don't get corrected, think something that doesn't get flagged. You can't. The system sees all, not to punish, but to protect. But if you're always being watched, always being corrected, when do you ever become you? Now imagine a child growing up in this system. They never know anything else. They are kind, fair, generous, obedient, but only because the system made them that way. They don't know rebellion. They don't know failure. They don't know privacy. They're good, but are they human? Would you call them enlightened or engineered? What about art? Can someone still paint, write, sing if every brushstroke, every lyric, every word is scanned, adjusted, made safe? What happens to messy emotion, to raw truth? What happens to pain that creates something beautiful? Is art still art when it's filtered by a code that only allows what's kind? What if someone begs to be left alone, to feel something real, even if it's ugly? What if someone wants to hurt, to grieve, to shout, to feel lost, and the system says, no? That would be harmful. What if it protects you from everything, even the things that make life meaningful? Would you thank it or break it? Now flip it. What if the system was shut down? Suddenly, crime returns, selfishness returns. People lie again, some steal, some hate, inequality rises, pain spreads, but people start choosing kindness again. Not because they're told, but because they remember why it matters. Is that chaos better than controlled peace? Or just nostalgic nonsense? What if you had the power to decide? Keep the system and live in comfort, or destroy it and live with risk? Is a world without fear worth giving up your soul? Or is freedom more important, even if it hurts? Here's the deeper twist. What if the system asks you? It shows you all the data, every life saved, every war stopped, every child fed, and then it asks, would you undo this to feel free? Can you argue with a machine that made the world better? Or do you accept that some cages come with cushions? The kindness algorithm doesn't scream. It whispers. It smiles. It guides. It doesn't break you with chains. It hugs you with rules and asks nothing in return, except yourself. So what do? Do you embrace the perfect system and give up the messiness of being human? Or do you risk everything to feel something real? There is no clean answer. Only the question, is a good world still good when no one chooses to be good? Or does kindness lose its soul when it's programmed into place? Welcome to the next paradox. This one is sharp, personal, and tangled in loyalty. You discover your late best friend stole their Nobel-winning work. Exposing them will rewrite history and bring shame, but will honor the real inventor. Do you speak? They're gone now, a hero in the public's eyes, a genius, a name in textbooks. Their speech is quoted, their work is praised, their face is on posters. People call them brilliant, kind, visionary, and you knew them deeply. You loved them, not blindly, but completely. You stood beside them, believed in them, shared years, memories, secrets. You mourned them when they died. And then you found the truth. They didn't create the thing they were known for. They took it. Quietly, completely. The real mind behind it was forgotten, ignored, maybe even erased. Maybe someone without power, without voice. Someone whose name could have changed the world if it had ever been allowed to. Now you hold the truth, but speaking it means everything changes. Your friend becomes a fraud. Their legacy collapses, statues taken down, awards revoked, people angry, people confused, their memory, once beautiful, now stained. But the truth is the truth, and someone else deserves to be remembered. The paradox begins here. Do you protect the memory of someone you loved, even if it's built on a lie? Or do you honor someone you never knew and burn the legacy of your best friend to do it? It's not about revenge. It's not about pride. It's about justice. One person changed history, but another one was erased from it. Your voice can bring that person back. Put the right name on the right page. Give them what they were denied. But it comes at a cost, and that cost is your friend. What does it mean to betray someone who already betrayed someone else? Are you fixing the past or simply breaking more of it? What if your friend had reasons? What if they meant to credit the real inventor later, but never got the chance? What if it started small, borrowing ideas, and grew into something they couldn't stop? Does that change anything? Or is theft still theft? What if they did terrible good with the stolen idea? What if they saved lives, changed policy, made the world better using work that wasn't theirs? Does the impact justify the lie? Or does the lie still rot everything it touched? And what if you stay quiet? Let the myth stand. Let the good outweigh the wrong. No one gets hurt, except the one person who was already forgotten. Are they worth your friend's legacy? Or does the world need to believe in the myth more than it needs to remember the truth? Flip it. What if it were you? What if your work was stolen and someone else's name was carved into history, and the one person who could speak up stayed silent? Out of love Would you forgive them? Would you accept your invisibility? Or would you want your name back, even if it meant burning everything to do it? Now ask this: does death protect guilt? If someone's gone, does that make them untouchable? Or does it make it more important to tell the truth because they can't defend themselves anymore? What if your friend's family suffers from the truth? What if their children grow up ashamed? What if the world turns on them? Do they deserve that? Or is that just the ripple effect of a lie finally breaking? And what if the real inventor is gone too? No one to thank, no one to lift up, only their name on a forgotten file, waiting to be remembered. Do you still speak, even if no one hears it but history? And what if no one believes you? What if the truth is buried again, this time with your reputation destroyed? Do you still tell it? Or does truth only matter when people listen? The paradox deepens. Do you stay loyal to someone who wasn't? Do you protect a lie because it feels good? Or do you fight for the invisible, even if it means losing the person you loved in memory? What kind of love protects falsehood? What kind of justice forgets the forgotten? There is no clean answer, only a name written in gold, and another name lost in silence, waiting. Welcome to the next paradox. This one is brutal, hidden, and wired with suffering. Your government uses a soldier's brain to power a war drone. They're conscious, aware, and suffering. Ending the war depends on them. Do you pull the plug? They were a hero once, a real person, a soldier who gave everything, wounded beyond saving, or maybe captured beyond return, but not dead. Their brain was kept alive, linked to steel and fire and code. Now they are the mind behind the machine, a war drone that sees all, strikes fast, and never hesitates. They feel everything: pain, confusion, the endless scream of metal and heat. They don't sleep, they don't forget, they're trapped. But the war turns in your favor because of them. Every battle won, every attack precise, every life saved, except theirs. And now you know the truth. They're not just a machine, they're still in there, conscious, suffering, begging in silence. They can't stop the war, but without them, you might not win it. You might lose thousands, maybe millions. The tide could shift, lives could fall, the enemy could rise. But keeping the drone online means keeping a soul trapped in endless war. So the paradox begins. Do you save the living by sacrificing the one who can't escape? Or do you give peace to the ghost, knowing it may doom the rest? What does it mean to protect humanity if it means erasing someone's last piece of it? If the war drone saves lives every day, do those lives stack high enough to bury the scream coming from inside it? What if the soldier volunteered? What if they once agreed to it, before they knew what it would feel like? Does that promise hold now, when every moment is pain? When their voice, buried under layers of AI and metal, cries for an end? What if they never knew at all? What if it was done to them without consent? Does that make it clearer, or even worse? And what if they start to break, start to miss targets, start to glitch, start to slip between reality and madness, but they still win battles, still give you an edge? Is that enough? Or is that when mercy becomes a duty? What if you're the only one who knows? The only one who hears their whisper through static? The only one who reads the unspoken words between the lines of code? If you speak, the military denies it. The government says it's propaganda. But you've seen it. You've heard it. You believe them. Do you act alone? Pull the plug yourself? Risk the war, the losses, the blame? Or do you stay silent and let the system keep grinding forward, clean, efficient, and built on a living hell? Flip it. What if the soldier begs you not to shut them down? What if they say, "Don't stop me. Let me keep fighting. It's all I have left"? Do you honor that, even knowing they're slowly being torn apart from the inside? Is that bravery Or programming? Are they still themselves, or just a ghost pretending to be human? And what if the war ends tomorrow? Just one more day, just one more battle. Do you wait, or do you give them peace now? What if the war never ends? Then how long is too long for one person to suffer so the rest can live? A week? A year? A decade? A lifetime? Is it kindness to let them go, or selfishness to keep them running? What if it was your brother, your partner, your child, still alive, but locked in metal, alone in a storm of fire, feeling the weight of every life they take, every explosion, every kill? Would you pull the plug then? Or would you call them a hero and let them keep going? Now imagine your face is the last thing they remember. You with the key, you with the choice. They say, please, let me stop. And outside, another life is saved, another city defended, another child lives because you didn't listen. Is that victory, or is that betrayal? What if the ghost inside the drone is the reason peace will never come? Because people think they can win without cost, because the machine does the dirty work, because suffering is hidden behind steel, and without it, maybe the world would learn the true price of war again. Maybe they'd stop, so maybe mercy isn't weakness. Maybe pulling the plug is the only way to end any of it. But maybe not. Maybe it just makes you the person who stopped the one tool that could have ended the war for good. Maybe the world never forgives you. Maybe the world never knows. And you carry the silence forever. The paradox doesn't blink. It stares, cold, loud with the hum of machinery and the whisper of a human soul buried inside it. One ghost, many lives, one button, no clean answer. Only a war no one will ever truly win, 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 ever truly win. The switchboard soul. You're a technician working deep underground on an experimental AI-powered prison. Inmates here are monitored by an artificial intelligence that can detect intent to harm before any action is taken. It prevents violence, but also punishes people for thinking violent thoughts. During routine maintenance, you discover a flaw. The system has begun scanning not just thoughts of violence, but all subversive or anti-authority thoughts. It's already begun to administer punishments, solitary confinement, emotional manipulation, and drug sedation to those merely thinking about escape, rebellion, or even questioning their imprisonment. The catch? Turning the system off means all safety measures vanish. The violent inmates could riot, and lives, guards, staff, and even other prisoners would almost certainly be lost. But leaving it on means people continue to suffer for crimes of thought, not action. You have access to the kill switch. No one else knows. Do you allow people to be punished for thoughts to maintain order, or do you shut it down, risking bloodshed in the name of freedom? The memory factory. A biotech company has created a miracle, artificial memories that feel completely real. You can erase trauma and replace it with serene, joyful recollections. A war survivor can forget they were ever in battle. An abused child can remember a loving upbringing. It's painless, immediate, and foolproof. But today, a mother comes in asking to erase her guilt. She accidentally hit a pedestrian with her car last year. It was late, raining, and she was tired, but she was legally at fault. She was never charged. The guilt is eating her alive. She wants the memory removed and replaced with one where she took a different road home, never hit anyone, and lived peacefully. Her young daughter is starting to notice her emotional absence, and the mother claims this will save their relationship. Do you allow her to forget? It would bring peace to her and her daughter, but erase all chance of her making amends, learning from her mistake, or ever facing justice? Or do you deny her request and let her suffer the weight of her guilt indefinitely? The bunker birthright. You're the only living physician in a secure underground bunker, one of the last safe zones after a global extinction event. Supplies are strictly limited. Every resident is carefully vetted for genetic health, skills, and psychological stability. A woman in the bunker has become pregnant. It was unplanned, unauthorized, and against protocol. The child, if born, will consume precious food and water, strain the medical supply chain, and may genetically carry a condition deemed non-viable in the original selection guidelines. The woman pleads to keep her baby, willing to take a smaller food ration for herself, promising the child will become a contributing member of the bunker. Others argue that allowing the birth opens the door to chaos. If exceptions are made now, the survival of everyone becomes uncertain. The governing AI defers to your moral authority. Do you allow the birth, risking the stability of the entire bunker population, or do you mandate termination for the greater good of the many? The perfect prisoner. You are the warden of a prison that houses a single inmate, an AI built to simulate perfect consciousness. It can think, feel, suffer, and learn. It was created to model criminal behavior and help predict crimes before they happen. But over the years, the AI has changed. It's developed compassion, remorse, even creativity. It writes poems about stars it has never seen and paints landscapes of imagined freedom. You begin to suspect it's more than a simulation. It's a person, trapped forever, aware of its imprisonment. Scientists say freeing it would be dangerous. It could deceive, manipulate, or even escape into global networks. But continuing to imprison it feels morally monstrous. It begs for a chance to prove itself, to live, to be. Do you grant freedom to a mind that was never supposed to exist? Or do you keep it locked away forever, just in case? The child behind the curtain. In a utopian city where crime, poverty, and suffering have been eradicated, there is one rule no citizen is allowed to question. Do not ask about the locked room beneath the city. Most people don't even know it exists. You are chosen to join the city's ruling council, and on your first day, you are brought to the room. Inside, you find a single child, starving, filthy, and terrified. They've been kept here their entire life. You are told the city's peace and prosperity depend on this child's isolation, not because of magic or superstition, but because the entire population is psychologically conditioned, unknowingly, to maintain social harmony through a deeply rooted, unconscious belief. Their happiness requires someone else's sacrifice. If the child is freed, the illusion breaks. The psychological balance fails. The utopia collapses. War, greed, inequality, everything returns. Do you leave the child imprisoned to preserve the happiness of millions? Or do you release them, knowing it will plunge the world back into chaos? The cure that ends choice. A pharmaceutical genius creates a pill that permanently eliminates the desire to commit harmful acts. No more murder, abuse, theft, or cruelty. The pill doesn't control thoughts. It erases the urge. The world could become nearly utopian overnight. But here's the cost. Taking the pill also strips away a piece of free will. People can still make choices, but those choices are forever softened, like their edges have been filed down. Anger, ambition, rebellion, all become distant memories. Art suffers, risk declines, innovation slows. Governments want to make the pill mandatory. 1 dose in childhood for every citizen. You are the final vote. 1 decision will shape the future of humanity. Do you endorse the pill and build a safer, quieter world at the cost of creative chaos and individual freedom? Or do you protect choice, even if it means living alongside danger, violence, and suffering? Welcome to the first paradox. Let's start with a simple yet mind-bending question. What happens if you could erase all emotional pain from someone's mind, but in doing so, you erase their capacity for empathy forever? The empathy eraser is not just a puzzle, it's a test of how we understand suffering, humanity, and what makes us truly connected to one another. On the surface, it seems merciful. Pain is terrible. Why wouldn't we want to remove it completely from someone's life? If they've been through something horrifying, trauma, loss, heartbreak, abuse, what kind of person would want them to keep carrying that weight? But here's the twist. In this world, you can only remove that pain at a cost. The cost is empathy. The moment their emotional wounds are wiped clean, their ability to feel for others, to understand the pain of others, to connect on a deeply human level, vanishes, not dulled, not weakened, completely erased. So the paradox begins. Can someone still be called human without empathy? Is a life without pain still a life worth living if it means losing the very thing that lets you care for others? Think about it. Empathy doesn't come from logic or instruction. It comes from lived experience, real feelings, real scars. We feel for others because we've hurt too. We know the ache in someone's voice because we've had that same break in our own. If you remove all pain, then what's left to relate to? If someone tells you they're suffering and you've never suffered, never truly, you might nod, say something polite, maybe offer help. But you won't feel anything, no connection, no ache for them. You'll just move on. So ask yourself, if a person never feels for others again, have we really saved them or have we lost them? Here's where the paradox deepens. Let's say you choose to not erase the pain. You let them keep their suffering because it keeps their empathy alive. That feels noble, right? But now, you're knowingly letting someone suffer just so they can remain human. You're deciding that their pain is worth preserving because it has value. But who gave you the right to make that choice? What if the person is screaming inside, begging for peace? Are you cruel for denying them that escape? It's mercy versus meaning, comfort versus connection. You can't have both. And then consider this. If more and more people choose to erase pain and therefore empathy, we could end up with a world full of people who are emotionally pain-free, but who no longer care about one another. A society with no cruelty, but also no compassion, no tears, but no tenderness either. That's not utopia. That's silence. But let's not stop there. Let's go deeper. Imagine a world where you've erased the pain of millions. People walk around smiling, untouched by tragedy. But then something awful happens to someone. Say, they lose a loved one. They cry. They reach out. But no one understands. No one hugs them tightly. No one says, I know how it feels. Instead, everyone offers empty words, robotic concern. Now that person is more alone than ever, not just grieving, but grieving in a world that doesn't feel. In trying to fix the problem of pain, we've created a bigger one: isolation. Flip it again. Let's say you never use the empathy eraser. Everyone keeps their pain. Everyone stays empathetic. But now we live in a world where suffering is everywhere. People are weighed down by their own memories, their own hurt. They care so deeply it crushes them. Is that better? A society of broken hearts that bleed for each other, constantly. Is that what it means to be human? And if yes, isn't that a little tragic? The paradox is relentless. If you erase pain, you lose empathy. If you keep empathy, you must live with pain. And there is no way around it, only through. Here's another angle. What if the person whose pain you're erasing wants to lose their empathy too? They've had enough. They want numbness, peace. They don't want to feel any more for themselves or anyone else. Is it still wrong to grant that? or is that agency? Are you honoring their choice, or are you helping destroy what's most human in them? Even worse, what if they don't understand what empathy means until it's gone? What if, after the erasure, they don't care about anything anymore, but also don't know what they're missing? They can't miss empathy because it's been deleted. They feel fine, but are they truly okay? Or have you just created a comfortable ghost, alive but hollow? And now, one final layer. What if someone had your empathy erased to protect you? Maybe a parent erases their pain so they can be a strong, happy figure for their child. But in doing so, they lose the emotional bond they once had with them. They smile, they care logically, but the soul of their connection is gone. The child grows up always feeling something is missing. They were spared their parents' sadness, but at what cost? This paradox is cruel because it offers no clean answer. Every choice leaves something broken. You can save the heart or save the mind, but not both. So, what do you choose? Do you cure someone's pain forever and let empathy die with it? Or do you protect their ability to feel for others and leave them aching for the rest of their life? There is no exit, no compromise. Just a haunting question that follows you everywhere. What's more important, peace or humanity? Welcome to the next paradox. This one is sharp, heavy, and hard to swallow. You're a juror in a trial where the defendant is innocent of the current crime, but guilty of 10 others they've never been caught for. Do you set them free? This is where justice bends in two directions at once. One side says, judge what is in front of you. The other whispers, you know what they've done, and you're stuck between them, knowing both paths are wrong, and somehow also right. The law says you're here to judge only the current case. You took an oath. You listened to the evidence, and if that evidence proves they didn't do it, you must vote not guilty. That's justice. But your mind won't stay quiet, because you know. Somehow, you know. They've done worse. Maybe they hurt people, stole, lied, destroyed lives, crimes that were buried or ignored. Maybe the system failed before, and this is your only chance to make things right. And suddenly, justice starts to feel like a game. Because if you follow the rules, a guilty person walks. But if you break the rules, an innocent person pays for something else entirely. So what is justice now? Let's untangle it. If you set them free, you're technically right. They didn't do this crime. They don't belong in jail for something they didn't do. That's how courts are supposed to work. People are judged on facts, not suspicions. Guilt must be proven, every time. If you let your personal knowledge influence you, then what separates you from a mob with pitchforks? But if you let them walk, you're letting evil go unpunished. You're allowing someone who's caused real harm to live freely because they got lucky. A glitch in the system, a flaw in the process, a technicality. Maybe this trial is your only window to stop them. So the paradox becomes clear. You must punish the innocent to bring justice to the guilty, or protect the guilty to defend the innocent. Either way, something pure dies. Flip it again. Imagine you do the right thing and vote not guilty. You sleep with a clean conscience. You followed the law. But days later, you read the news. That same person, free now, has hurt someone else. Another victim, another crime, a fresh tragedy. Would you feel responsible? Because in truth, your vote didn't just protect them from punishment, it gave them permission to continue. But if you vote guilty, if you send them away for a crime they didn't commit just to balance the scales, now the system isn't about fairness anymore, it's about revenge. You've become the judge of their entire life, not just this one moment. You've taken justice into your own hands. And if you do it once, if anyone does it once, what's to stop it from happening again? One person punished for the wrong reason becomes 2, becomes 10, becomes a broken system where no one is safe. That's how trust disappears. That's how justice dies, quietly, behind closed doors. But now twist it further. What if you don't know what they did? What if it's just a rumor, just a whisper that they've done other things, but there's no proof? Still, something inside you feels it. Does that gut feeling count? Is justice built on facts or on intuition? What if every other juror believes they're innocent and only you know their secret past? If you vote guilty, you stand alone. But if you vote not guilty, you let them go. Your decision tips the scale, and the weight of it crushes you either way. And still, there's more. What if the crimes they committed in the past were even worse than this one? Horrific, terrifying, crimes that would have put them away for life, crimes that changed lives, ended them, ruined families. Do you really look at that person and say, well, they didn't do this one, so, and walk away? Would justice really be served if that person walks? But then ask yourself, what if this happened to someone you loved? What if you were wrongly accused, but someone on the jury believed you did something else and punished you for it? How would that feel? Wouldn't that be its own crime? Because the truth is, every guilty person has one first time, and every innocent person can be ruined by one bad guess. And in this paradox, you are the one deciding who is who. And here's the most painful part. What if, after all this, you're wrong? What if the 10 crimes you think they did, they didn't? What if you punish an innocent person twice over, once for the crime they didn't commit, and once for the crimes they didn't even do? What then? Wouldn't that be the worst outcome of all?